by his
Government.
real first name.
We
By
are
his
live.
government name.
All right, we are officially live. Episode number 84 with Phil, Heath, Adam, and Gerard. So it's been a minute, no?
It has
Yes,
been a
sir.
minute.
It's been a minute. By the
Yeah,
way, you
yeah.
guys look very friendly right now. Just a minute ago off camera, you and Gerard were about to fight.
Yeah, well, it started with Phil. I
Who was
accident-
instigating? That's the question.
Oh,
though.
come
It's
on.
always
Come
me.
on.
Who was
somehow.
it?
It's always
It's
that.
always me somehow.
Somehow I don't see that.
Well, I just
I don't
said-
see that
He's
quality.
pressing
I-
the buttons, right? He's pressing the
I
buttons.
just said, good morning, Philip. And he looked at me like, who the you think you are?
Well,
Address me by my real name, Phil. And then Gerard piled on. We waited for you.
by the way, I think it's fair to say from the last time we did podcast till today, a lot's changed. A lot of crazy things.
man.
David, can we raise my audio a little bit more if you don't mind? I know you guys want to lower it, but raise it a little bit more. Vanessa and David are not in the mood today. Everybody's out. It's just them. They're lonely. There you go. Much better. We got a lot of crazy things that happened last week.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of things that happened last week. Last night we're in my office. You can come down. Last night we're in my office. We're preparing for the podcast. Thank you, Caroline. Last night we're at the office and we started talking about guns. We started talking about God, Gerard's favorite topic. We started talking about religion. We started talking about history. We started talking. Gerard said things kind of feel a little out of whack, and that led to a great conversation where we were all holding back because we wanted the podcast to be on it.
Yep.
We said,
Absolutely.
even though we kept saying, let's keep it for tomorrow. 20 minutes later, let's keep it for tomorrow. So we're going to talk about it today. Anyway, so we got a lot of topics. Let me go through a few of them that we have here today. One of them is faith at its highest or lowest in America today, including the world? And is the world a better place when a country is ran based on a religion or not? You can debate that. We'll debate that today, have a good conversation about it. Is that a good invention? Who did it help the most? We'll talk about that. Adam's very excited about that one.
Of course.
Elon Musk says universal basic income. We need universal basic income because in the future, physical work will be a choice. You know, this whole robots he's building, he's got some interesting things to say about that. Chinese authorities say overtime 996 policy is illegal. Tom Brady avows today's work ethic, saying it's not how to live a joyful life, says seven-time Super Bowl champion in his mid-40s. Joe Rogan confined to Spotify is losing influence. It's an interesting article with some data there. Celebrities disappear from internet as China moves against fan culture. China limits online video games to 3 hours a week for young people. Biden admits his administration may have given the Taliban kill list of Afghans who aided U.S. Staggering costs, U.S. military equipment left behind in Afghanistan. Special op veterans carry out secret Pineapple Express mission to rescue 500 Afghans, and Australia created a police state to stop COVID-19. Data shows it's not working. Folks, if you're from Australia, let us know if you're from Australia right now, like you're living in Australia right now. Comment. We'd like to get a caller in from Australia. I know you got somebody else as well. If you get a hold of them, maybe we can do something with it. Let's start off with the equipment. Kai, do you mind pulling up what equipment is left behind in Afghanistan with the Taliban? What is left behind? So, is this the article, or is there one that shows all the different, you know which one I'm talking about, the image?
This one's divided up into a few of them.
Okay, let's take a look at this. So what are we looking at here? Vehicles and airplanes. Is this, so we got 42,604 Ford Ranger pickup cargo trucks are left behind. 22,000 Humvees, ambulance, cargo, troop, enclosure, gun truck variants left behind. 8,998 medium tactical vehicles. I was a mechanic for those vehicles, by the way. Call them LMTVs or FMTVs. 5-ton cargo and general transport truck. 1,005 recovery vehicles. I was licensed to do that and operate those. They're great to drive, by the way. You can run over trees. It's 6. So 1,005 of those left behind. 928 MRAP Max Pro ambulance combat left behind. 189 armored personal carriers left behind. In other words, tanks. Keep going down. That's 76,000 right there. By the way, here's the pricing. Armored personal carriers such as the M113A2 cost $170,000 each. The M577A2 costs $333,000 each. Mine-resistant vehicles range $412 to $767 each. Total cost would range around $382 million to $711 million. Keep going over to the next category on what we got. Okay, here's helicopters. 111 helicopters, 60 transport cargo airplanes. We got 20 light attack airplanes, 18 intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance airplanes. Go a little lower. That's 208 there. What's the price on those, by the way? Let's look at some of the prices there. $427 million of the Black Hawk helicopters. Each cost $21 million. Okay, each. Keep going lower. I mean, the Taliban won right here if you look at what they got. Keep going lower to the next part. Is there any other equipment? Okay, here we go. Rifles.
Oh, my goodness.
358,530 M16s, M4 carbine, AK-47s, and sniper rifles. That's 358,000. There's only 75,000 Taliban, by the way. 358,000, 126,000 pistols, M9s and G19s. You got 64,363 machine guns, 25,327 grenade launchers, 12,692 shotguns, 9,877 rocket-propelled weapons, 2,606 indirect fire weapons. That's 599,000 weapons. Okay, go a little lower, Kai. What's the total number? I saw $85 billion. Oh, we got more stuff here. 16,000 night vision goggles, 120 radio monitoring systems, 22 ground. Anyway, so that's another 16,000 equipment. Keep going lower and lower and lower. Is there anything left at the bottom? Anything left that we have at the bottom? The total number was what? $85 billion, give or take? $85 billion of equipment the Taliban got. What do you think about that, Gerard?
Well, when you leave behind $1 billion in military-grade assets, civilians and allies, I think it's pretty bold and audacious to consider it leaving Afghanistan. That, to me, sounds like a retreat. That sounds like submission. That sounds like we retreated from Afghanistan. We left people, but we left our people and our property behind. That doesn't also mention, needs to be shouted out, the dogs that we left behind that are being cared for by a civilian who stayed behind, an American civilian who is behind enemy lines right now, and an Afghan ally, and they're both volunteering. So once again, the private sector picks up where government drops the ball. But this just gets uglier and uglier and uglier by the day. And as it came out, you did a great interview last week about how they're trying to paint this as, first they tried to paint it as we were completely taken by surprise by this. Then General Miley came out earlier last week and said, well, this was inevitable. We knew it was going to happen. And you lead by taking the troops first. They don't take their equipment, okay? And not to sidebar too far, but this ISIS-K stuff, it drives me out of my mind. This used to just be the Mujahideen. And we supported the Mujahideen when they were anti-Russia and anti-China. Then it became Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And we had to go in and get them because of Al-Qaeda. But then we became allies with Al-Qaeda in Syria because they were anti-Assad. So we couldn't call them Al-Qaeda anymore. They were rebranded as ISIS. We rebranded them. And now it's ISIS-K. So we have both been allies and enemies with the same group for 20 years. And what have we gotten for it? What have the American citizens gotten for it? Nothing. We got nothing out of this. All right, we got pain and suffering for people who were willing to risk their lives. And all I heard, and this is something Republicans messed up 20 years ago, all we heard was we got to protect our freedoms. I have still yet to have somebody explain to me well how we needed to protect our freedom 6,000 miles from our shores. I don't understand what we were doing there in the first place, but since we were there, I don't understand how we could leave like this. I mean, Sam Harris, to his credit, all right, one of the foremost liberal thinkers in the world, tweeted out, he retweeted himself. He tweeted on January 20th after the election, I am overwhelmed with joy to have adults back in the room. And
meaning Biden.
But the Biden-Harris troika. All right. And to his credit, he retweets himself publicly eating these words syllable by syllable. And that's where we're at right now. So kudos to you, Sam Harris. Kudos to Bill Maher. Kudos to the other liberals who refuse to go down with this sinking ship. But as a country, and this is something, the more conservative listeners are not going to like. I look at Nikki Haley. I look at Donald Trump Jr., who I find hilarious. And they're piling on to make sure that you know that this is Biden's fault. This is Biden. Dude, we know. I need solutions.
Thank you.
How are we getting people out of there? What are we doing now that we just gave $1 billion to people who want to do us harm? We know who to point the finger at, all right? But when you point a finger at somebody else, there's 3 pointing back at you, right, Phil?
Amen.
You 1 pointing that way, 3 pointing this way. Well, somebody, anybody in our political geosphere
But here's a question for you.
put solutions out there, please.
Fine. So what does he do? What does Junior do?
Well, he's in sales right now. He's selling that Biden's incapable and incompetent.
But no. What I'm trying to tell you is, okay, so imagine the average voter right now that's listening to this.
Yep.
They're pissed off. Who isn't pissed off today? CNN's pissed off because
Alyssa Milano's not pissed off.
Well, Alyssa Milano's not pissed off, but who is Alyssa Milano in the first place? She's cousin Vinny's. Isn't that the one? Or
No, that's Marissa Tomei.
Okay, that tells you how much I know about Alyssa Milano. She's one of the. Okay, I mean I know her face if I see her.
Commando.
But here's the point. Okay, take Alyssa Milano out. Everybody else, who isn't pissed off today? CNN is pissed off because Biden is making them look like idiots. Okay, MSNBC is pissed off because what? They were his campaign. It's like, hey, we want this Trump guy out. Fox is pissed off because, they're seeing what's going on because they're pro-military. Everybody's pissed off. Who isn't pissed off? But the average person that's listening to this, what can they do about it? What can the average guy do about it? What can Junior do about it? What can they do about it? What can all these guys do about it? So the only people that can really do anything about it is who?
The people in charge.
The people in charge. So no matter how much you put it on anybody else, I'm sorry. It's like, dude, I'm not in charge. What do you want me to do? Right. You can scream off the top of your lungs. You can do all the things that you want to do. But what can you do? This takes me into what Pineapple Express did. That's the part where you brought up and said, Pat, this entire time people are thinking we have to rely on somebody to do something. This is a group of civilians that are like, listen, dude, we don't care. We're not waiting on you. We're going to go out there and do this, right? You want to unpack what happened with those guys so the listeners can kind of...
Yeah, so for people that don't know, there's a bunch of ex-veterans. They're no longer active duty, or the ones that are active duty refuse to identify themselves, obviously, because they pretty much broke international treaties. And they committed an act of war by invading a sovereign country. But really, these are guys that were on, that did multiple tours in Afghanistan. These are special forces guys that got sick and tired of waiting for the government to get their allies and people who help them, people who help save their lives, translators particularly and their families, out of harm's way. So they just went in. They said, screw it. We're not waiting for clearance. I mean, this is like a 1980s like Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. This is like Predator. This is like hardcore, old school, America is the best movie stuff here. But these are real guys who went in and they saved between 500 and 1,000 people. They got them across the borders out of Afghanistan. And we'll never know who they are because obviously they're technically war criminals now. But these guys are heroes.
We know who some of them are because they talked about it.
A couple of them.
A couple of them came out and flat out they talked about it.
And Tim Kennedy apparently was very big in organizing it and
he's a stud, by the way. That guy's a freaking stud. You know, Tim is a special guy. Do you have opinions on that, or did you have any thoughts?
There's a lot going on. I think, look, anyone as an American or even as a citizen of the world should just look at this and just be like, this is a complete shit show. But what did we expect? It's almost like we don't learn any lessons. Look back in history. What the hell happened in Vietnam? America, you can get into a war very easily, but I think we've realized it's very hard to get out of a war. And it's very ugly to get out of a war. I think something that we need to recognize is what's the lesson here? We can be anti-terrorist, badass mother suckers and get in and take care of business, but we cannot build nations. We're not nation builders. We can't go into goddamn middle of the Middle East and think that they're going to come around to our way of thinking. It didn't happen in Iraq. It's definitely never happened in Iran. It's not happening in Afghanistan. Let's learn our lesson. So the next time that something happens here, God forbid a 9/11 happens, we don't rush to judgment 30 days later and declare war in Afghanistan when, like you said before, we're fighting Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda was our friends in a different war, and now we're fighting the Taliban, but now we're making peace with the Taliban because they're fighting ISIS-K, who's like basically the Delta variant of ISIS. And it's like, we can't figure this out, and we never will. We don't understand that way of the world.
It's the government, though. Like, it's from the inside. I mean, obviously, you have, what was his name, Scheller. He goes online and he starts speaking out, and this guy's getting hit pretty hard internally. So obviously, it starts from the inside. Like when Pat, you talked about, like, we can't really do anything about this. This starts inside. We don't know if there's coups involved in our own freaking government. All the different branches.
When you say inside America or inside?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're telling me that they don't have, like, there's drama within our own government, clearly, with our own military. Clearly, there's different special interests. Because how in the hell does this take place?
Yeah,
this
the whole situation.
If it's even within our government.
Let me ask you this. So you just made a point about, hey, we can never solve this, and this is problem's always going to be here. It's always been there. It's not all this stuff that you said. Okay, fine. Yes, But that's not the challenge right now. That we didn't get here because nobody agreed on leaving. The left and the right and the middle, everybody's like, we got to leave. There isn't anybody that's disagreeing on staying except for the 5 to 10% of the veterans who are actually there, who saw what happened, who have emotional affinity to the people there that want to see their lives change, and they feel like maybe we're a generation away. Right. Except from the true believers, 80 to 90% of America all agrees on, let's bring the troops back.
Agreed.
Fine, but here's a question for you. Okay, so what is the right way? You're at a club, okay? There's a shooting. You're at a club. There's a shooting. You hear a shot goes out. What's the right way to leave the club? What do you look for when you leave the club?
The nearest exit.
The nearest exit, and you leave. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Do you look for your friends, or do you just look, I'm just going to run? They're going to find a way to run as well.
I'd like to think I grab my friends who are around me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question here. But if you're with your buddies and they're all athletes, you're probably like, dude, you're going to find a way out, dude. Let's go, guys, fellas. Let's get the hell out of here, right?
Well, in the spur of the moment, are you thinking, where's Jim? Where's Bob?
But
Where's
now
Sally?
let me flip it on you.
No,
let me flip it on you.
Yeah.
Let me flip it on you. You're at a mall with your 2 kids. There's a fire. You hear a shot. What's the first thing you're thinking about?
Grab your kids.
Grab your kids, and then you leave, right? Okay, great. You're in your house. There's a fire. You got 2 cats, you got a dog, and you got 2 kids, okay? Fire breaks out. One of the propane blows up and fires everywhere. What are you doing before you leave the house?
Trying to stop the fire.
Trying to stop the fire, but you're trying to get everybody out first, right? Is it fair to say that common sense says what? We got to get the hell out, right? There is no common sense that says, don't get out. So the problem isn't we got to get out. The problem is how we get out. So you have to prioritize on how you get out. By the way, here's a question for you. If you're sitting in a room, you know shit's about to go down, what's the best thing you got to do? If you know the enemy right there is about to do something crazy, what's the best way for you to react?
If you know,
sitting in a room.
Let's just say I text you. I'm like, hey, shit's about to go down. Adam, Phil, Gerard, in a text. Guys, we have 5 minutes to get out of here.
Leave in 4.
I'm leaving in.
You grab your fucking weapons and make sure that you have them.
No.
But the way you're going to leave, you're going to be like, guys, let's not overreact. Just
slowly
chill
go.
out. Just like, okay. So the way we're going to do it is you're going to say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And then Gerard's going to be like, you know what? I got to call. Let me call my girl.
Yeah.
And then gradually I'm like.
Slowly.
Yeah. So slowly you go out. You're like, okay. Wait. Dude, like, that's how we left.
Because
we left like that. So the whole point isn't let's leave. We know we need to leave the
Amateur.
damn club.
Damn right.
We know we need to leave the damn mall. How we left. So, okay, so now, Leaving Afghanistan for Dummies. Okay, let's read that book. Leaving Afghanistan for Dummies. Okay, let's somebody should publish that book.
Well,
Step number 1, you got $85 billion of equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Civilians got to go first.
So first of all, we need the equipment. Civilians got to go first.
There you go.
Those translators, those interpreters who help us out, got to go first. Then what goes next?
In my opinion, the troops go last.
I agree with you.
Okay, but I don't know why we put out the troops and then we're like, oh, by the way, we forgot 100,000 civilians and all our shit.
So
it's ass backwards.
But think about how much of this is just pure common flipping sense.
Because it's reaction versus response. When you react, you do what they freaking did. When you respond, that means that you're more calculated, period.
Yeah.
And they did not have, like when we were kids, like you have a fire drill. Yeah. Like you have certain protocols, systems, all that other crap. Where was theirs? Where was that list?
Here's the other part. If you think about this. Okay. There's a part that I don't agree with the president saying what we're about to do next too early. Here's what I think. I think it's like, listen, guys, I don't know. Probably in the next 2 to 4 years, we're going to try to leave Afghanistan.
There you go.
But you leave in 6 months. But nobody needs to know that. You don't, as a president, sit up there and
here's my card.
Hey, guys, we're leaving in the next week. Oh, shit, they're about to leave in the next week. Like, look, we're going to try to go in the next 2 to 4 years. We'll see what's going to happen, okay? And we'll see what's going to take place. But we are working on it. We have a plan. We'll see what will happen. Then you know you're about to leave in the next 30 days. There's a part of this that strategically, buddy, it just validates whoever's that's in the commander-in-chief position, president position, they have to be strategic. They have to understand the art of war. Yes. They have to understand power. And then the subtle maneuvering. You don't just go and say, hey, I don't know. I'm just, to me, it's a bit of common sense.
You said it a while ago on a podcast, I believe, last time I was here. that the commander in chief needs to have some experience serving in the military because of what you just said. I mean, if he had some level of experience, of expertise, he would actually have to know the art of war, all these things that you described.
Or you know how we do it? Let's just say you don't. Okay, because we're going to go in an era where a guy's going to be a president like a Trump, Biden, Bush. Let's just say these guys. Here's how it works. You're the final vote, but you got a board of 6, 7. You're one of the votes, but you're the executive chairman. When it comes, if you've never served in the military, you're going to put generals there. Marines, Air Force, Army, everybody.
That's your National Security Council.
You put your National Security Council, and right there, the vote is 4. If 4 in that room say, boom, go. But it's not 1. Biden doesn't get a chance to vote. Neither Trump, neither any of these guys.
Yeah.
You sit there and say, boom, let's get out.
Few things that really come to mind from this thing is the way Biden's handled it really makes me feel like he's not running the show. He's a puppet. I'm not supposed to answer questions. I'm not supposed to. Who? You're the president. Who's telling you what to do?
Yeah.
If anything, you should be standing up with your chest out and saying, like, I make these decisions.
But it's very obvious, and I'm not, and that's not like I'm not trying to knock Biden on this. Now I'm like legitimately concerned. Who's calling the shots here, man? That's number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, all right, is I think it's beyond obvious now. Like you said it before. What are we learning from this? Why we can't nation build? Adam, I don't think they ever intended to. I think that they were there to suck millions and trillions of dollars and keep these incredibly high-paying jobs. Why do they not care about $8 billion worth of ordnance being left behind? Because it wasn't their money. They don't care. It didn't come out of their pocket. That stuff was already bought and paid for. And in fact, the defense contractors are like, let them have it. We got to buy new stuff. Yeah. Absolutely. They don't want to win these wars. They just want to keep them going for as long as possible. This thing made them
I don't disagree.
So much money. Yeah. And the Patriot Act, right? We have the Patriot Act. We have TSA. Now they said they're trying to spin it. They're trying to spin this that we don't need to be there anymore because we hit the objective. It was Osama bin Laden was the objective. Okay. Well, then the Patriot Act was there because of bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. And now you're telling us the Taliban have learned their lesson, so why do we still have to go through TSA? Why are we still doing all that BS? Or is that just, again, and now what does that mean to me? With everything we're doing today, that was the quote-unquote new normal. Yep. And that was supposed to go away. But now the Patriot Act is never going away. Right. We live in a surveillance state.
Just like taxes.
It's never going away. Yeah. So to your point, Adam, what can we learn from this? Be very careful which freedoms you give away in terms of, well, I just want to feel safe, because we're learning right now that when the crisis is over, you're not getting them back. It's not happening.
Let me add to your point. You've used this term, the military-industrial complex. Yep. It's a real thing. This is disgusting to see what's going on here. So something that Pat always says here that we learned, anyone who starts with valuetainment says, treat the company's money like it's your own. Do you not say that, Pat? Treat the company's money. So if you're going to go out and get a hotel, you're going to get a car rental, you're going to get equipment, you're going to get whatever, you're going to treat it like it's your own, and you're not going to wasteful spending. Save that money. And it's just disgusting to see how much waste and fraud is going on there within government spending. Yeah. It's disgusting. So let's circle back to the original question. What were they supposed to do with this equipment? If they're not, how are they getting tanks back? How are they getting bombers back? I've never been in the military, but it seems obvious. Rather than letting them have it, don't you just blow that shit up? Why wouldn't you? Explain to me why you wouldn't just, and you know the
because
crazy.
We need an enemy to go back in and create another 10 years worth of trillion dollars.
Wait a minute, what you said is what Trump said.
What's that?
I don't know if you heard what Trump said. He said, here's a plan. First, you get the civilians out.
Yes.
Then you get the interpreters out, let's just say the allies. Then you get some of the equipment out. Then you blow every unit up. You blow it up, because if there's anything, you blow every base up that we have, then we get the troops that come back up.
Yeah.
That was his formula on how to do it. So you were just aligned with Trump. He just
I'm not even making this a president. I'm aligned with Trump. I'm aligned with Biden thing. Like you said,
but
Trump never served.
But wait a minute.
Here's my point.
Well, no, wait a minute. You're aligned with common sense.
Sure, great, awesome. That's a first for me, right? Bingo.
No, it's not. It's not a first for you. If Americans actually looked at this bullshit, not from the standpoint of who is president, but rather from common sense, many people would be on the same side.
I agree. But my point is this. Forget about Trump, forget about Biden, forget about Bush, forget about Obama, because they're all guilty and were involved in this war. I mean, starting from Bush, Obama, it's been the generals. You're the ones calling the shots.
Yeah.
You're the ones in there saying, look, I've been in war. I've been in Afghanistan for 20 years. Here's what we need to do. Who's the loudmouth general out there talking right now? It's so easy to blame Biden, or it's so easy to blame Trump, and Trump did the deal and Biden just went through with the deal. So easy. Why aren't the generals?
Well, it's hard. It's hard for
up?
them because they went all in on the establishment to get rid of Trump. So it's hard. It's very hard for a guy like Mattis, who I'm a big fan of. It's very hard for him right now to be like, I backed the wrong horse. It's very, very difficult.
But my point is this: like, who cares? You're talking about American.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
but
it's
this
not
is
a presidential
also,
thing.
But this is also, when you say that who cares stuff again, like this is, because it's in this moment you've been so vilified in this divisive political environment. Like, this is what I'm saying when I talk about I don't want taxes. Taxes are theft, and then people are like, I don't mind paying my fair share if it means that a kid can read and education gets better and there's no child
Is
that
that
goes hungry.
is that how they walk when they're talking?
Yeah, with their Warby Parkers. I like people. I'm a good person.
Easy on Warby
No, it's
Parker,
not,
bro.
No, it's not. This is what your tax money goes to. Your tax money doesn't go to kids getting books in schools.
Yeah.
Your tax money goes to this. So until these people tell you and show you that they can use the hours of your life, we've discussed this. Taxes aren't just money. Money represents the hours of your life. That is 8 billion hours of American lives left behind for the enemy to play around with and hang people from Apache freaking helicopters. That's subsidized by you and me, guys. That right there, high five, guys. We sponsored that.
And we're not going to talk about this. Like, my question is, how long are we going to continually talk about this to drive that point home to the general public? Because there's a lot of people in this world that don't pay attention to politics in this way. They don't pay attention to military in this way. This type of news needs to be continuously over and over. And there's a lesson to be learned in this. And we're all discussing it right here. But until that becomes like the norm, we're going to do this shit again.
The other lesson we learned, and
Well,
I know we're going to talk about
we
this.
avoid.
I know we're going to talk about this, but the other lesson we learned is every time they tell you that you can't take on the government, like all these Second Amendment guys, we got F-16s. Yeah?
Yeah, right. They got everything.
I'm laughing in Farsi. I laugh in North Vietnam.
Yeah.
You're telling me that I'll give up my guns because why? Because Eric Swalwell, you don't have nukes? Yeah? What did the Taliban have? Don't ever forget your Second Amendment.
You know, they said the Taliban officially moved up 161 spots in the strongest military in the world.
From our stuff?
From our stuff, 161 spots in the strongest military in the world. So that means they're like in the top 50 right now.
Can I
think about
The
that?
Taliban.
crazy.
The Taliban's military, after what they just took, is in the top 50
Kai, pull up
militaries
the
in the
list
world
again.
right now.
What is their ties? And I'm just going off here. Like, what are their ties with the Communist Party of China? Do they have any ties with them?
Well, they have
they
ties with
didn't support-
Pakistan, and then Pakistan has ties
So
with China.
I'm just thinking in regards to like technology and stuff like that.
It's
could
a
be
good
used.
thought because
Yeah.
this is all a proxy.
because
war.
because I'm thinking, well, like, okay, like
Who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for? Everybody's got to be responsible for something. Last night you and I had a conversation together, right? We had a little bit of a hiccup and we're talking to each other, and you're like, yeah, you know what?
How my hair got too high, by the way. Yeah, it's a funny story behind that.
I like the hair. So we're talking and we're saying, hey,
It'll
so
be okay, Gerard.
but the point is, who gets the responsibility on this, Adam? Who gets the responsibility on this?
Are you looking for a figurehead or?
Well, listen. I mean, everything rises and falls on leadership. Who's responsible for this?
Look, if you want to go the easy, clear answer, Biden, and he even went out and said, "Look, this is on me." He said this.
What should be the repercussions?
Well, the voters will determine that. Well,
We can't wait that long.
But what I'm asking you is,
he's not getting impeached. It's not like none of that.
Okay.
It's not happening.
So let me ask you a question. Let's just say we go there. Because, Republicans are like, let's impeach the guy. Okay, fine. Right. But let's just, but what you're saying, yeah, but the liberals wanted to impeach Trump twice and they celebrate. The first time in the history a president got impeached twice and it's on their resume, right? Okay. And then they're saying, let's resign him. And then they're saying court-martial, right? Mm-hmm. How should he be held accountable to this? I'm actually curious, right? Like Nixon resigned over what? Watergate, which was what? Today, Watergate is like a step number 3. It's like Watergate is nothing today, done by both sides. Watergate is very...
Obama literally did it and got nothing happened to him.
No question about it. Yeah. So did Hillary. It's a very simple model. But how should he be held accountable? Not just voting. How should he be held accountable today? Because in the corporate world, in a corporate world, if I run a corporation and I accidentally cost the corporation $85 billion, you know what happens to a guy like me? I mean, it's like the board is going to sit down and say, Steve Jobs, we kind of love you, but dude, you are fired. And we're going to bring in a Scully, and we're going to bring you back 7 years later if you earned the right. But what should happen to this guy today? Why should free enterprise have more pressure of their job being fired in the moment, but government employees, they can just sit there and say, dude, no one's going to fire me? What should happen today?
Well, that's the problem. That is the very essence of the issue with authoritarian regimes, communism, socialism, however you want to call it. There is no accountability in government. We talked about it before. It's not your money. It's somebody else's money. And if you blow it, you know, on a micro scale, we talked about Bill de Blasio's wife. Bill de Blasio's wife made $1 billion of taxpayer money disappear. There wasn't an investigation. There wasn't criminal charges. She got promoted. She is now handling the dissemination of the funds. So what should be done?
What do you do with this?
Well,
by the way, there's two people that look very good right now. There's two people that look very good right now. One of them you know. The other one is Jimmy Carter. Okay?
How?
How does Jimmy Carter look good right now?
Yes.
Who did better, him or Biden? Biden is making Carter look good.
Oh, man.
Biden is making Carter. Carter's sitting there saying, at least I'll be able to say I'm not the worst of all time.
George Bush and Dick Cheney are skating by on this. And they look, Biden's bad, but Bush and Cheney need to have the spotlight shine on them. Cheney especially, because he's back this time around in this camp. You know,
and Donald Rumsfeld, your boy.
I hate him. Hey, horrible human being, an
Great
embarrassment
movie,
to Rumsfeld.
No, Vice was a great movie.
Oh, I didn't see it. Yeah.
You did not see Vice?
I didn't see it.
You're kidding me.
Nah. Why? What? Like, I mean, Hollywood doesn't like a Republican.
I think to answer your question, genuinely, I think it's a little too early.
Folks, listen, folks. Everybody listen.
Everybody.
Adam's going to give his...
I think it's a little too early to just start dishing out blame. Yes, this is going not according to plan. Correct. Okay, cool. I don't think anybody likes to see what's going on here. But let's see what the long-term ramifications of this. The bottom line is this. Americans overwhelmingly did not want to be in Afghanistan. Let's not just like gloss over that. For years and years...
We've already addressed that.
Okay, but for years and years, we paid zero attention to this. For years and years, our military or our government was lying, basically saying, everything's fine. Don't worry about Afghanistan. We got it all under control. Turns out they were lying the entire time. Turns out we could not control 75,000 Taliban fighters. Turns out 75,000 people fighting for their homeland, fighting for infidels, is a lot more powerful than any amount of army that's getting paid to play.
Well, you don't have to win. You just have to stalemate. It's how we beat the British to get this country.
But stalemate for how long? 20
Forever.
years?
Forever.
50 years? 100 years?
Just
1,000 years?
them. God.
I think the bottom line is I think we have way too many internal issues in America to be worried about Afghanistan. It sucks what's going on short term right now, but with everything that's going on in America, you name the list of issues: debt, obviously our tax system, healthcare, homelessness. The list goes on and on and on.
To that debt.
Now we're worried about the Afghani people. With all due respect, we've got enough issues at home.
No. But this has got nothing to do with Afghani people.
Well,
what does this have to do with Afghani? What part of this issue is Afghani people?
What part of
what part of this is Afghani people? You're saying let's forget. We have so many issues here. Let's forget about that. The people in Afghanistan. But let's address our issues. Nobody disagrees. But is this an Afghani people issue?
No, this is an American government spending and focus issue.
This is a strategic issue. Okay, if you hire a C-suite executive, you hire a C-suite executive because you're expecting this person to be competent in what areas?
Whatever their specific expertise
whatever they specialize
is,
in, right? Okay, if I'm a CMO, my job is to do a great job in what?
Just like you're a general in the Army, I expect to be competent at leading an army.
Exactly. What level of competency did you see in this move that took place 2 weeks ago?
That's the question that we all have, is who's the one
but
actually...
What I'm saying to you is you're saying we already have so many problems. This could have been prevented if the level of competency was done in a different way. This is not an issue that we disagree in. This is an issue of competency. This is an issue of common sense. This is an issue of basic strategy for a person that in 113 billion people have been born from day one till today. You see that statistic of how many people have lived. There's only been 46 positions for U.S. presidents. He's one of them. Don't you think there needs to be a little bit more competency when it comes down to issues like this? That's the only thing I'm questioning. We talked last night, crazy. I asked Gerard last night, if you're comfortable answering this, you can say it on camera. I asked Gerard, would you rather have Hillary Clinton as a president or Joe Biden? What'd you say?
Hillary Clinton.
How long did it take for his answer? What did you say?
Hillary.
Okay, now here's a question. Would you rather have Trump as president today or Biden?
On this particular issue or every issue in America?
Right now.
Just take overall competency, decision-making process. Would you rather have Biden or would you have Trump?
On this particular issue, obviously Biden is failing. There's other things that I think Biden is doing better than Trump.
Such
I don't
as-
think it's a binary option.
But I think it is, though, because I think it's competency. Like, I honestly think, as much as there is nowhere that I'm going to one day have a Hillary Clinton autograph in my office. I don't seek for that. But I honestly...
Maybe a Bill Clinton autograph.
But I don't mind a bill.
On
But
a
I will...
cigar.
You literally have
But
that.
I will tell you something. I've never...
I know. You showed it to us.
I don't... This is not... Guys, this has got nothing... This has got to do... To me, who's a bigger badass? Hillary or Biden?
Hillary.
Not Biden. Biden wasn't elected to be a badass.
That's not...
That's the problem.
The problem
That's the
is
problem,
fact that
dude.
this is a competency issue and a leadership issue. Folks, if you're watching this right now, you have two choices. You have Trump, you have Biden or Hillary. Who do you pick? And by the way, this is like an interesting crowd, right? Who do you pick? You have a Biden or Trump issue. Who do you pick? This is a leadership issue. This is not about who won or who didn't win. The world hated Trump because Trump was pushing everyone's buttons. He was the obnoxious guy that's going out and calling you out. Hey, you got a big belly. Hell, your nose is big. Hey, you got a big pimple on your forehead. That's Trump. Is that fair to say that's his style? He's going to go and call everybody out and just get under everyone's skin.
Well, he also turned the free money spigot off, which is why they really got rid of him.
And then he put all the sanctions on everybody. He decided, like he said, you know what? I'm going to go from a person everybody wants to be like me. A kid grows up, wants to be like Donald Trump. Rappers want to be like Donald Trump. I'm going to go to be the most hated person in the world by pushing everyone's buttons. He just woke up one day saying, I'm going to push your button, China, Mexico, Canada, everybody. And he had the formula down. But when it comes down to situations like this, because your top position, presidency, out of everything you and I need to do in the job, okay, maybe let me ask this back and we'll change topic because we got other things to get into. Here's a question for you. Tell me the number one quality of a great comedian. Not top 5, the number one. You guys are in that world. I have no idea.
I think it's charisma. They got to connect
Is
with
it
the crowd.
timing? Is it charisma? What is it?
You can learn timing. I think it's charisma. You
What do you
can't
think?
fake it. You
I
have
don't
to be
know.
able to connect with
What do
it.
you say?
Timing and charisma.
You
for
put
sure.
timing first or charisma? Give me one of them. I just want
Yeah,
one.
reading the room.
I'd say charisma.
Okay, charisma, what do you say?
Charisma for sure.
Okay, fine, fair.
But there's people without
What's
charisma
the
that can
number one
succeed.
quality of a person that could win Mr. Olympia, Not be competing for Mr. Olympia, but win Mr. Olympia. I think I know the answer, but I'm curious what you say.
You definitely have to own the crowd.
Okay.
Obviously, if you have the physique, that you have to have the physique.
Okay, so that's number one.
Yes.
You have to have genetics.
You have to have the genetics.
Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't have it, it doesn't matter. Like
No,
Chad Nichols said, I can take everything. I'm never going to win Mr. Olympia.
Correct.
You got to have a gift. Some may say.
Yeah.
Like a 7-time
right.
Mr. Olympia.
Right.
Okay, let's continue. What is number one, not top 5, what is a number one quality for you to have a girl go from being a girlfriend to a wife? Number 1, not top 5. Maybe a bad question for you right now.
I think every woman says they want to have a good communicator, someone who listens.
Okay, so someone who fair.
Stability, would that be?
Security, stability,
Security?
fair. Let's
Gerard's
continue.
working on stability. He's getting stable. He's moved into his new spot. I'm proud of you.
What's the number one rule of becoming a millionaire? Number one.
Save that goddamn money.
Okay, so let's just say save the money, right? What is the number one duty of being a president? Not top 5, not top 10, number 1.
Protect your people.
Secure your borders.
Boom, you got it. So what I'm trying to tell you is everything that happens this year, nothing is above securing your people. That's number 1, and he's not doing it, and Trump did. Okay? There's presidents that did. He did not do that. And that's what you get held accountable for. That's accountability. That is the only thing I'm asking for, because you have to be competent. Last night, I hear shit in the backyard. Who has to get up and grab the gun and go walk around?
Damn right.
I have to do it.
Yep.
I'm the guy that's the security of the house. I don't say, well, let me send my 79-year-old dad to go see it.
Jimbo.
Yeah. Let me go see what's going on.
Jimbo.
Okay, and then there's a big-ass possum on steroids sitting outside, like massive benching 3 plates. I'm like, freaking this guy could compete for Possum Mr. Olympia.
PBD?
Yeah. So he's in the backyard. And
Where
I'm
them
like,
snacks,
okay,
man?
but the point is competency, security. A husband, a man provides security, competency for the family. A president has to give us confidence that if somebody comes and invades us or does something to us, that person's going to put the freaking a level of fear in the other person to say, dude, I'm pulling out. I'm kicking back. Listen, I got you. I'm going to give you a shit back to you.
It sounds like you agree with Joe Bonanno's book a little bit. We need a head of a family. Is that the idea?
Joe Bonanno? You're going back to Mafia?
You're
watching way too much Mafia interviews.
Like, no, stop. Joe Bonanno made the same argument. We just need one guy who takes care of everybody. It's like a father, maybe you'd say, a boss.
I don't think it's just one guy. I just think, like, to me, when you think about somebody where you're going to say, okay, like right now you look at candidates as an ex-president, you got to think about somebody that's going to be protecting the nation. You have to think about somebody that's going to protect the nation.
I think
And make other people think twice when they want to screw with America. I mean,
Well,
that's.
I think more than anything else, guys, we as citizens have to look at this and say this central planning can never work, because this is what's always going to happen. This idea that some government, some altruistic government is going to come and they're going to take care of everything. They can't figure anything out. All it takes is one batch of Peter principle and ruins the entire empire, man. Get rid of imperialism because it's impossible and it's not profitable except for very few people at the top. Capitalism is the way, not imperialism. And also, guys, the centralized stuff, and now they're going to pivot to climate change. They're pivoting to the climate crisis. They're making
Canada,
these pivots.
talk about what happened in Canada.
Oh, it's all over. It's Australia, New Zealand, Canada, where Trudeau came out and said we're going to apply the lessons learned from this war on COVID in the war against the climate crisis and all of our environmental crisis and inequity and social justice. And I was like, wait, whoa. The lessons learned. Like in New York right now today, you know, I love talking about my favorite home, Soviet bloc, New York City, right? The great Yugo, New York. You have to show your papers. You have to show your papers. You have to show
Where's your papers?
Where's your papers? Or you cannot get into the bodega today. Yeah, it's you can't eat groceries without showing. Now here's what's asinine about this: if you have a COVID vaccine, you can still be positive, COVID positive, and go eat at a restaurant, but it's okay. You've got your ouchie, so no big deal. But if you test negative, all right, like Cole Beasley, if you test negative and you've been exposed to somebody, all right, who didn't test but they complied, it's okay. They can feed their children.
Did you see the article I sent yesterday? I don't even know if we want to get into this.
Yeah,
but
the
article,
PhDs.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
let's move
They're the
on.
smart
Let's
ones.
move on. Let's move on.
Adam is saying, let's move
on.
You know what? We should
I care more about the channel than anyone here's opinions. You know what? Fuck it. Let's get the channel taken down. Let's do it. Who needs the channel at this point? Fuck it. Let's get crazy. Let's just go
But let me ask you
complete
this.
anti-vax.
But let me ask you this. It was a great article. If anybody wants to get this article, send me a tweet at Patrick Bet-David. Maybe later on today I'll share the article with you. It was a very interesting article sent to us by one of our good friends here. Anyways, so listen, weird week or no? Weird week or no?
Yeah. Weird month.
We're
Weird
sitting,
year.
We're sitting in the room, and you guys talk about what happened in Miami. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And what happened in Miami, and we go on and we watch the video, disturbing video. I'm not even going to show it, but it's a disturbing video where
young
walk
gentleman
us through it.
Yeah, young gentleman apparently was high on mushrooms. Walks up a very young couple, 21 years old and 22 years old, 1-year-old child, sitting in Miami outdoors like we all do, just enjoying a meal over on Ocean Drive. And a dude walks up with a gun, sticks it in the guy's face. He goes, "Whoa! I got my baby in my hand." Hands the baby to he's 21 years old. This kid hands the baby to his wife, and the guy goes, "Okay, now you don't," and boom, caps him right there. Middle of the restaurant, in front of his broad daylight,
non-provoked, just
apparently
felt like doing
anybody
it.
who's ever taken mushrooms know mushrooms don't do that to you. So I don't know, maybe bath salts or something.
And he
but
starts dancing
like Fortnite, like dancing over the body like Fortnite, and then just walks away. Apparently shot at somebody else and missed them. And then 3 cops, man, who God bless these guys, the balls of these dudes. They charged them, attacked them, took them down, and he admitted the whole thing while he was being taken down. It was.
I'd love to see what was in his actual.
It was an
system, if it was actually mushrooms.
Can you imagine just going with your young wife? I mean, he's 21 years old. It's probably the first vacation he's ever freaking been on. They're out in Miami Beach, just chilling, loving life. Look at the sun and the fun, and the guy comes up and just boom.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, this transitions us into the conversation we had yesterday, right? And the conversation is about God. Right? Now, if you look at God, the debate for God is what? Let's look at the debates for God. There's how many different camps with God?
Oh, so many.
There is the camp of people who believe there is a God. And within that camp, there's how many religions? A ton.
Too many to name.
Pick and choose, but there's a ton, right? Judaism, Christianity, LDS, Jehovah, Muslim. If you want to put Scientology in that camp,
Christianity,
Catholicism,
Buddhism,
Taoism,
yeah.
Sikhs, there's a lot of them, right?
Confucianism.
But they believe there is a creator, there is a God. The other camp is what?
Well,
Agnostic, they believe there is a God, they just don't know.
Not convinced.
Not convinced. And then you have the atheist that flat out believes what? There's not a God.
Yeah.
The community for atheists, believe it or not, is very small. It's only like 4 million people. It's not a big number.
Worldwide?
It's not a big number. If you look at them, can you pull up what percentage of the world total atheist population worldwide? I think it's not a big number. It's a small number. Anyway, so we got 3 different camps.
Okay. I thought it would be larger than that.
Yeah, me too.
U.S. is 3 million. Worldwide is what? 450 to 500 million. There are 450 atheists and agnostic. Wait a minute, because that's not the same thing. So atheist and agnostic, I don't put them in the same camp. Agnostic is a complete different understanding than atheist.
Agnostic, just to be clear, I think atheism is you basically say there is no
Nothing.
God.
Yeah,
Agnostic is you're not sure if there is or there isn't. You
That's
just
right.
don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, which is fine. So that's not like no matter what, there's not a God. Okay, so it's okay, Kai. We'll figure it out later, okay? So now, today, with everything that's going on, okay, do we have more people believing in God today or fewer people believing in God today?
I would guess fewer.
Percentage-wise.
I don't know.
Not population, percentage-wise.
I think, well, it depends. When you say God, like when people start using the term like celestial creator or a universal energy, I feel like they're still believing in God. They're believing in something. Like when you talked about people praying, how praying centers you, and that people should pray more. I'm like, man, I feel like people talk about prayer now more than when I was a kid. They just rebranded it as manifesting. Manifest
Or
your
the
future.
secret.
Yeah, and it's like that
Because they're
was
scared.
praying. That's praying.
They're scared
Like,
to
is
talk
that
about
not
it for some
praying?
reason.
Yeah.
No, they use the word meditation.
Yeah.
I meditate is what I do, and rather than saying prayer, they use meditation. It's a more politically correct word.
Or
to use.
affirmations as well.
Meditation is slightly different than affirmation. Affirmation is restating the same thing over and over and over again until you believe it. Meditation is more you're sitting there, you're praying, you're thinking about a topic.
What do you do, Pat?
No, I listen. I got to tell you. I mean, for me, prayer is magical. Tom's in a hospital. Tom's in a hospital with pneumonia and COVID. Right?
Tom Zenner?
Yeah.
Tom Ellsworth.
Tom Ellsworth?
He's in the hospital with pneumonia. He was in ICU for the last couple of days. Yeah,
The biz doc?
The
Yes.
biz doc. So
What?
Yes, he's there now.
Man, I didn't-
today's his best day.
Okay,
today's
good.
his best day.
Okay,
which
good.
is
Biz
we
doc,
got
I hope you're
progress.
listening. We're thinking of you, man.
We can't wait
we
to
miss
have
you.
him. Yeah, everybody
right.
misses
I
biz
hope
doc.
to.
man.
Hope, is there any chance he's gonna be here for the vault? Or?
We don't know. We're gonna see what's
All
gonna
right,
happen.
well,
At this
we're
point,
thinking of you,
the only
Biz
thing
doc.
we're thinking about is his health, right?
That's right.
Damn.
So prayer, okay, prayer to me. But I think about, like, we went to the question and said, okay, what country would you rather raise your kids in? Would you rather live in a country where the top believes in certain values and principle and there being a God, or the top believes in there is no God, they're atheists, they're agnostic, like, whatever, we don't need to follow a certain guideline.
Judeo-Christian values,
You prefer that.
values and principles. Yeah,
Well, it's what we grew up
America's-
with.
Yeah.
But let's take that out. Let's take that out. And let's say we don't have that. What does that world look like? Let's take that out. Let's take it out and say, listen, I think it's like, I used to go to school. We used to pray. You don't do that anymore. You used to go to school. You used to stand up to, the
pledge.
flag. You don't do that. It's offensive. We used to go and do certain rituals, right? I remember one time I'm at the owner of Public Storage's house in L.A., in Malibu, beautiful home. And Dennis Prager got up and he says, what makes great countries great and what makes religions great is rituals. And he's a Jew. And, Jews have a lot of
Symbolism and
a lot of
rituals, for
symbolism
sure.
and rituals, right? We used to pray. We don't do that anymore. So imagine like you're standing up and praying to a flag, or standing up and saluting to a flag, or looking up to a flag. What does that do to a 6-year-old? What does it do to an 8-year-old? What does it do to a 10-year-old? What does it do when you pray? Do you really believe in prayer at that time? Do you sit there and say, oh my gosh, prayer works? Or do you sit there and say, what if this works? I don't know if this works. What does a kid think about? But at least you're thinking, right? Well, maybe someone's got my back. Maybe someone's watching me. Is it good to think a creator is watching us? Have we gotten away from that? Why don't we want a creator to watch us? Is it because we don't like accountability? Is it because we want to be kind of rebels and not have anybody hold us accountable? What is it? Like what? Or is it because we had a bad experience with a pastor, with a preacher, with a priest? Something happened. We're like, dude, I don't believe in any churches. That's what happened with me. I was an atheist for 25 years. But the more and more you see the world being a little bit out of whack, the more and more you question, you know what? I don't know. Maybe we need a little bit more faith today, not faith. Maybe we need a little bit more prayer today. Maybe we need somebody to just get up and say, you know what, America? Times are a little bit weird. I think we got to pray today. And we have somebody that just sits there like flat out. A person gets up there and prays for the entire country today. What if that happened? How would the world react? How would America react? Maybe the man upstairs, if there is a man upstairs, is not happy. Maybe imagine if a father did so much for his kid and his kids are so spoiled. How would that father react? How would the father react? Would the father sit there? Yesterday, I was doing a mentoring call on the Elite webinar. One of the guys, a kid named George, liked him. And I said, so tell me, George. Says, well, let me tell you, I think of myself as one of these Bill Gates type of guys. I'm very cold. Nothing offends me. I don't get upset like he's talking in big game. He's 23 years old. I said, so really, what kind of business do you run? He says, I don't run a business. I work for my father. My father, he doesn't know what he's doing. I said, your dad doesn't know what he's doing? No, he really does know what he's doing. I said, so what does your dad do? He owns a bunch of hotels in Greece, and he's got a big portfolio of real estate of $100-some million, but I do it all for him. I said, really? You manage? So yeah. And we got all these 7 other CEOs that are watching this that do 20, $100 million a year in business. I said, so tell me who needs who more? Do you need your dad or does he need you more? Oh, no question. My dad can't survive without me. I'm like, oh, really? He said, yeah. I said, so what are you going to do? He said, well, next year I'm going to go away from my dad and do it on my own. I said, fantastic. What's your game plan? He's going to give me a few $1 million to get started. I'm like, everybody starts cracking. I'm like, did you just hear yourself?
That's what my dad did for me. It was fine.
Yeah. So maybe if there is a creator, just maybe this creator, if there is, and he plays the role of a father, maybe he's a little bit disappointed with all the stuff that we have.
100%.
Maybe. I don't know. Gerard, what are your thoughts?
It's a long conversation. I tell you, man, I am a man of faith. I believe in a creator. I believe in a universe. I have a weird belief that we are all connected of the same energy. I think science has kind of proven that matter cannot be created or destroyed. We're all stardust. We're all interconnected. And what I said yesterday is that I believe in a collective consciousness. I believe there's this thing called noetic science that kind of studies this, but there's a reason why home field advantage works. Their collective consciousness is a real thing. There's a reason why prayer groups seem to actually have effect, right? So I think our collective consciousness is off right now. I think there's something, there is sand in the microchip. I personally don't have much like or use for religion. I think faith is of God, religion is of man. And I think religion has been a tool used for authorities and not unlike government in this regard. I feel like it is a thing for people that are addicted to power to use to try to take power and control over their fellow man.
Let me jump in on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because this came up on my app this morning, and I love what you just said. It says from Ephesians 6:12, it says, for our wrestling is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So you know what that basically means, is that we're going through a lot of craziness right now in this world, and that we need to be guarded, extremely guarded, and therefore we need to come together. No matter if you believe in God or whatever, we need to come together. And Pat, you brought up a great story about your son, praying, showing prayer and stuff like that. At the end of the day, whether you believe in prayer or not, it's just positivity. We need to come together in some way and understand that something's wrong. And in order to get right, we got to get right with ourselves, and we need to really have better conversations. When you say, I hear people say, love thy neighbor, this and that, you're just saying it. You're not doing it. We're living in a world of just words, no actions, no real honesty. Hypocrisy is at an all-time high with our leaders and all that stuff. We have no guts to even call out. And then when we do call out these so-called rulers, leaders, we get canceled, we get thrown to the side. And then when they come, the pendulum shifts. Like we were talking about earlier, like, you have the left doing all this blah, 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 blah. And then now this whole Biden thing, now people from the right are like, see. It's like, but that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
If we could just say, you know what, man, hell yeah, you messed up. But I'm going to show you some grace because there's a bigger goal here. And the goal is this: peace,
And we're on the same
righteousness,
team.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, obviously where you are and where you are, with Ephesians you just read right there. What is prayer? Think about what prayer is. Prayer is what? You don't pray and say, God, I would love it if you gave me a Lamborghini tomorrow, and I would love if we get a Ferrari. And if I get $100,000 check, I will be more Christian next week. And if you give me that Ferragamo shoes with the nice Stefano Ricci suit, I'm going to go to church.
You're coming
times.
for Joel Osteen hard here.
So, yeah, I'm going after Joel Osteen hard here. But you know what prayer is? Prayer forces you to think about other people. Prayer is, you know what? I'm praying for Gerard. He's going through a certain phase right now. Probably Gerard told me something about his mom, his dad, his brother, sister. I'm going to pray for him, man. He looked like he was going through some time right now. I'm going to pray for Adam. Hey, he's going through this. I'm going to pray for Tom. The part about prayer is makes you think about others. Meditation is more you most of the time. Prayer is out. You're praying for someone else. So what would happen if we're coming from that mindset? You're thinking about other people. Look, for me, all I know is you give me a great organization, you give me a great family that keeps winning, you're going to find strong values and principles there. And the moment values and principles goes away, havoc's about to take place. Okay, now the part about the faith that we didn't get into yesterday is how many people that use Bible as a weapon? How many people do you know that use the scripture as a weapon?
I think history is chock full of them.
I don't disagree. Yeah. Muslims may say a lot of people use the Quran as a weapon. 75% of them say this is a religion of what? Peace, right? Hey, there's extremists, but that's not us. Guns. Let's talk about guns. Is gun a good invention to the world?
I think it's one of the greatest inventions ever made.
Who did it help the most, men or women?
Women, by far.
What? Give me the split. 10-1, 20-1, 5-1.
I mean, we talked about this, in podcasts past, but literally, this is the first time in the history of our species that not being big, strong, and violent is the marker of success. And that the gun has equaled the playing field for smaller people, more intelligent people even. If people are able to no longer just bully their way into success, you can't get in a ship with 16 other Norsemen and go across the English Channel and take over an entire town.
Away.
Yeah. So again, we talked about it with LeBron James, and I call him the repentant rich. I'm like, never in the history of man could somebody that was born in that status of life in Akron, Ohio, become a billionaire. He would have had to kill or been responsible for organizing an army that killed millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, in order to go from poverty to a literal prince, a king like that. So, the fact that he's a billionaire by playing ball and hole, and the fact that he can go and be on TV every day, where everybody knows where he is and they know that he has all this money and everything like that, and he doesn't have to worry about his family being at home or his stuff being at home. He doesn't go to sleep every night wondering if, oh my God, there's going to be marauders coming to take everything that I've earned in the middle of the night. He has indirectly guns to thank for that.
Yeah.
So
let me jump in for a sec. So there's two. We started this conversation with basically saying, look, we're a little off track here right now. We kind of got to get our central nervous system of our consciousness together. But at the same time, like what you're saying, I think this is the best that humans have ever lived.
Ever.
It's
quantifiable.
So exactly. So, Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it's the worst of times. It's so easy to point out all the bad stuff. Oh, this guy on mushrooms, it's crazy. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whatever. How many people have been lifted out of poverty? How many people over the last 50 years? How many people have clean drinking water now? How many babies aren't dying because polio isn't killing them the second they're born? It's so easy to just jump on and pile on the bad, the negative, things are bad, which in some cases they are. But a lot of things are good, man.
Well,
a lot of things are good.
I think the term is gratitude. And I think a lot of us have to live in that moment a little bit more, right? Like instead of just complaining and whining and
Right.
bitching and moaning, we have to be in more gratitude. And like you said, I mean, we are living in some very strange times, but at the same time, I mean, look, we're able to have this podcast, connect
Right.
with people, you know, we'll be changing, you know, hopefully someone's perspective, life, whatever, in just us having this conversation,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, I feel very fortunate in a lot of things I get to do, and that's because of, you know, evolution.
So, Pat, let me ask you this. So, you brought up guns there. So, are you saying that religion to you is analogous to a gun?
Absolutely. A lot of people here are talking insane stuff. Like, let me read what a couple people said. Wars. Bible is Marco D. Pascal. Bible is mostly fake, and Paul Baraz is 100% right. You got another guy that's talking about Paul Baraz just gave $10, and he said most people in fairy tales, most believe in fairy tales, God and religion. Sure seek like it works. LOL. People talking trash about God, right, and talking trash about Bible.
There's an interesting thing about the Bible, I will say, and I love this stuff, by the way. Like I spend my weekends reading up about this stuff. I've told you about my affinity for the historical Jesus, whether I believe he's the Son of God or not. He's the greatest activist of all time. I am fascinated with the life of Yeshua. I'm fascinated by it, and really the Bible. And this is going to piss some people off, but just try to have an open mind. The Bible really, all right, that we know today is a treaty between Judaism, monotheism, and the Roman Empire. Catholicism is a great, it's an understanding between the growing sects of Judaism. Jesus never wanted Christianity. He was a Jew, through and through, rabbi. And there was Roman Catholicism, right? Roman Catholicism was the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The compromise.
Okay.
It was the compromise between the dying old Roman ways and the new Roman, as Rome became Eastern, not Western. So there's geopolitical, like, it's fascinating politics behind this stuff. If you can, and I'm not saying that Jesus isn't the Son of God. I'm not saying that it's not the Word of God. That's not what I'm saying. But if you believe that religion is of man, all right, and you know, if you can research the Council of Nicaea, understanding what this was from a political standpoint is the most fascinating times in human history. We're still talking about 2,000 years later. The Council of Nicaea shaped the world for the next 1,200, 1,300 years. It's a fascinating time, man. So anyway, I'm sorry, but
you asked a question though. You asked a question saying the gun comparison to Bible, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's how I see this. Anything can be used as a weapon. Anything can be used as a weapon, right? Mm-hmm. They say the moment you learn how to persuade, never go to the tipping point of manipulate, just to avoid you being wrong at times. When you learn how to persuade, you're one move away from being a manipulator, just because you don't want, because now you know how to win arguments. Okay, so if the mission becomes about winning, you will tip into manipulating rather than persuading. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
or not.
it's kind of like what lawyers are trained to do. Yeah,
so once you learn how to persuade, you're like, listen, this guy knows how to persuade. You know how to persuade. You know how to persuade. I know how to persuade. But there's like, you know what? In this argument, he's beating me. Screw it. I'm going to manipulate because I don't want to be. Yeah. And by the way, that's a problem. And that's a problem everybody with power that knows how to persuade has to deal with. Everybody. Happens in marriage, parenting,
right.
Everything. Okay, let's set that part aside. Computer. That's a weapon. The Bible can be used as a weapon. This is a weapon. This right here is one of the most powerful weapons in the world today, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a couple arguments. I went through the phase of trying to break everything down with the Bible to prove to everybody that the Bible is wrong. That was my outcome. You think the Bible is right? Yes. You mean to tell me that back in the days, a woman's going to have a baby without, and yeah, we have to believe it? You want me to believe it? The 23-year-old kid that would go to every pastor that he could find, and I would try to prove him wrong. That was this guy. We are 22, 23 years old. This is all I did for 2.5 years, right? You mean to tell me I have to believe that? Let me get this straight. What makes you think maybe she hooked up with a guy that nobody knew about, and then boom, next thing you know, she's got a baby. To save her, she has to say, well, this is a God, all this stuff, right? Okay. Then people say, well, let's just say she made that up. Okay. Let's just say she made that up. What are the freaking chances that she makes up the story and the kid ends up becoming the biggest influencer in the world. Let's say, so for me, the skeptic is like,
Well,
well, there's chances. What are the chances? 1 in 113 freaking billion? Okay, math genius, break that down for me. Then I back up. I'm like, fuck, that was it. Let me take a different angle.
Right.
Well, back in the days, people were so naive. And a person could come up with a great communicator. They can manipulate everybody. So you can use that as a weapon to manipulate others. Okay, great. It's still happening today. But fine, let's just say the naivety level is lower today.
Right.
People were more naive back in the days because they wanted to be controlled. Every time I went to it, finally it got to the following point. Here's what the point is. Are there some things you will never know about your dad and your mom that they will never tell you? Are there stuff you're never going to know about your parents? Like, a couple of the arguments or that part or this part. Are there things that you will never find out? Yes or no?
100%.
Yeah.
If you spend the rest of your life trying to figure out 100% accuracy of who's right, mom or dad, are you ever going to find that out? Yes or no? You're never going to find it out, right?
Never.
Okay. You can spend the rest of your life trying to find out every single thing about Christianity, Jesus, God, everything. Are you going to find out 100% truth of all of it? 100% truth. Not 99%, not 98%, 100% truth. So then that leaves us with what? Okay, so you got emotional, you got logical. Let's look at both sides. Okay, for me, on the logical side, do I want my kids to learn certain values and principles to follow? Do I feel more comfortable a country is being built on certain set of values and principles? Yes. Would I rather have my kids go to church and not go to church? Yes. Would I rather have my kids pray than not to pray? Yes. Would I rather have my kids go to an atheist school or a Jewish school, and I'm a Christian myself? I would much rather have. Would I rather have my kids be held accountable to a certain level? So this whole thing about you're right, you're delusional, you're this, you're that. Look, you're talking to a guy that spent the entire time trying to mathematically prove everybody wrong in the concept of Bible. And oh no, you mean to tell me this guy built a ship and 2 animals on each side and came in all? You mean, come on, bro, that's a freaking fictional story. You believe that? I don't know. I don't know. You mean to tell me that such and such? I don't know. What I'm trying to tell you is I don't know. What I am telling you is if a person reads Proverbs, they become a better human being. I don't know why. Go read Proverbs and see what happens to you. I don't know why. I don't care what you are. Just go start with Proverbs. Read to see what happens to you afterwards. I think we need a little bit. This is coming from a guy that's a sinner. This is coming from a guy that's flawed. This is coming from a guy that's done a lot of stupid shit in his life. But if I ever go more that side, I make better decisions. I think today, if there's ever been a time, the country that was founded on the right belief system, who ends up beating everyone in only 200 years against empires that have been around for a few thousand years, maybe this country's been blessed. And maybe we need to kind of go back a little bit and say, what was the reasoning? Was it us? Or was there something else that was on our side? I don't know.
I would say this, and this is where I would agree with the kind of Judeo-Christian framework that you guys talked about before, right? I don't think that the quote-unquote atheist today doesn't believe in a higher power. I think government is their higher power. I think that they believe in this system, the socialist system, as their Judeo-Christian framework. I believe that this, especially this nouveau democratic socialist, this isn't politics to them. This is religion to them. And I think part of the argument that we've had over the course of the last 10 years is you just talked about intellectual versus emotional. Politics is an intellectual conversation. There's ebb and there's flow. There's times where you need liberalism and there's times where you need conservatism.
No question.
There's, I always try to think in a binary system. You like to say two wings of the same bird. I think of the Democrats as the gas pedal and the Republicans as the brake. You need gas to move forward. You need a brake or you're going to fall off the cliff, right? So where I think we've gone awry in our country in the last 10 years, and I think it's coming from the outside world specifically hammering us, is this kind of global communism, this democratic socialism. This is religion to people. For all the same ways, I even said this to you guys last night, where you guys are saying, all right, well, you got to think of your neighbor. You need to think of someone bigger than yourself. You have to provide. I'm like, this is what I hear from socialists all the time. This is social justice rhetoric. This is the stuff that they are all the time saying the people at the top have too much, the people at the bottom need to be taken care of. You got to think of somebody other than yourself. I'm like, this is socialist rhetoric. And then you made a great point. What is the difference? There is one key difference, and there's one difference that separates everything, and that is
force.
Yep.
I have the choice. You don't have to pray. I'm cool with that.
Right.
You don't have to give money. I'm cool with that. It's a choice. How many times have I gone to church and not given anything? Hundreds of times. Like one, oh my gosh, what a sinner. I'm telling you the truth. What do you want me to tell you? I didn't give anything that day I went to church. I've gone to church so many times.
There's a great Irish joke about that. You ever hear the Irish Catholic joke about that?
But the point is, I still walked out. It was a choice.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the Irish Catholic? So the old Paddy McDool. Old Paddy McDool goes in and he says, "Forgive me, Father. It's I have sinned. It's been 7 days since my last confession." Well, what'd you do, Paddy? Well, I lusted over me neighbor's wife. I said, well, did you do anything? No, but I thought about it. I thought about it a lot, and I thought about it constantly. Well, thinking about it is just as bad as doing it, my son. So I'm going to need you to repent. I repent, and then we're going to need penance. What do I need to do, Father? 7 Hail Marys and put 10 quid in the box on your way out to show God you mean it. So he says his Hail Marys, and then he goes to the donation box, takes the quid out, and he holds it over the top, and then puts it back in his pocket and walks. And the pastor goes out. He goes, whoa, Patty, what happened? I thought you were repenting. He goes, well, Father, I listened to your words and I thought about it, and that's just as bad as doing it. So I figured God's okay.
Anyways, by the way, it's crazy. The for me, for years we followed the rhetoric, which is what? Which is never talk politics, never talk religion. Never talk this kind of stuff, and this is what we talk about.
We're doing it all today.
If you don't like it, this ain't the podcast for you, I guarantee you. But if you like it, smash that subscribe button, put a thumbs up to help us out with the algorithms, because we got a few more topics to go in the next 39 minutes.
Let me give you one more thing.
Here we go, folks. Everybody, pay attention. Turn off the computer. Tell your kids to be quiet. Yes. Adam's got some thoughts for us.
I'd be remiss if I didn't just bring up.
I'm thinking you're going to pray for all of us.
Well, it does involve prayer.
Okay,
it does involve
let's
prayer.
hear it.
I think, prayer or affirmation or meditation or thinking of others is important. Okay, no doubt. And I think, whether they say, hey, take a second, moment of silence, that's great. But the whole blanket, we had an issue, thoughts and prayers. Hey, can you get your thoughts and prayers out there today?
Yep.
Hey, I my dad's sick, really could use your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Hey, we just had another gun tragedy, thoughts and prayers. At the end of the day, thoughts and prayers don't do shit.
Yes,
they don't solve problems.
If they don't mean anything.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like the old
actions.
thoughts and prayers thing. I'm just so sick of the thoughts and prayers thing.
Are you sick of virtue signaling, or you think of praying?
The virtue signaling.
Yeah.
But it's not me getting political. It's just hey, thoughts and prayers. We just had another 50 people die from a gun violence. We really could use some.
That's just like when I have friends from the UK, right? So like I travel and I have a couple buddies out in Birmingham, England, right? So they'll say, why is it that you guys always say, have a nice day? He's like, you guys don't mean that shit one bit.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Have a nice
saying.
day. It's just a saying. So I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, at the end of the day, we got to say what we mean.
Well,
And
I know you want to move on, Pat, but the one thing that I did want to ask you about this, man, is, you've talked about this a lot. It's interesting that you want increased religion, increased accountability. But you grew up in an environment where, religion gone awry completely turned your world upside down.
Yeah, but it was force. Again, it goes back to force. My kids, everything is a choice. Hey, you don't have to read today. It's the currency of the house. But I don't have to let you watch TV today. But you don't have to ever read in my house. But I don't have to ever let you watch TV in our house. It's a choice. Hey, you don't have to clean your bed. Believe me, buddy, like I tell my son, you don't need to. Who said you need to clean your bed? Nobody said you need to clean your bed. But I don't need to let you play iPad this weekend. It's a choice. There's always a choice, right? I'm still going to love you. You're still going to be my son. I'm still going to take care of you. But I'm sorry, video games don't come if you don't do your part. I got to do my part. Life is tough. I got to do. So the force part is the problem in countries like Iran, because you don't have the choice. Hey, you want to cover your hair? No problem. Do it. You don't? No problem. Do it. That was the Shah's way. You want to cover yourself? Go for it. Some people want to wear show everything, cleavage. And they want to have the shirt high and show their belly buttons because it's pierced, and wear skimpy, skirts. Guess what? I'm sure you support that. I'm sure you're...
Vehemently.
Vehemently. Now, somebody who's extremely attractive doesn't want to show any of it. She only wants to show it to her man. So every time you see her, you're like, she's drop dead gorgeous. But I have no clue because she's always covered up. That's her choice. Great. She wants to... Somebody goes to the beach, they wear a two-piece, and they got a thong on. Okay, now that's kind of weird, but I like it. Let's just say you like it. Some people go there, they don't want to wear that. It's a choice. The force is the problem, is when the problem becomes a little bit problematic for me. So, but to go back to what you just said, and I've heard that a million times. Hey, David, can you grab somebody to grab a charger for my iPad, please? My iPad just died. If you guys got it, I wouldn't mind it. Here's what I will say about what you just said, okay? I partially agree and I partially disagree. Let me explain. Who have I known longer, you or Tom?
Tom.
Okay. Who gave $10,000 to Obama and Trump and said, committed to, I'm going to give $10,000 for this to happen?
Your boy Sauce.
Who else here gave that?
I don't know.
But who here supports for that to become a reality?
Everyone.
Did Mario give anything?
Not that Mario Aguilar. No, not him.
Mario didn't give anything.
Yeah.
But does Mario want to support me doing the interview to see Bush and Obama and Trump be in the same room?
Of course.
I think that there's levels to support. Some go above and beyond. Some people, all they can do is say, dude, I'm just going to pray for you. I got nothing else to give you. What do you want me to do? But my thoughts and prayers go for you, right? Some say, hey, I'm not only going to pray for you, I'm going to make a phone call to see if I can get a guy to support you. Hey, not only am I going to pray for you, I'm going to make a phone call, but I'm also going to come out to your place to help you out. Whatever you need, I got you.
Okay.
Some say thoughts and prayers. Some say call a friend. Some come, and some go and give $50,000 or $10,000. So there's levels. I don't mind it as long as the effort is to give something. If you want to give time to pray for me, that's a starter. There's levels in life. You know, hey, if somebody works at a company, not everybody's going to be a C-suite executive. Somebody may come here and make sure the place is clean. You're contributing to society. Somebody wants to come in here and edit. Fantastic. Somebody wants to cut. Great. Somebody wants to grab. As long as we're contributing. The part about prayer is the barrier to enter is just to pray. Go for it. There's no expectation. That's much better than a guy says, screw you, I don't care what happens to this guy. So it's a way to at least get people started.
I hear you on that. There's levels to this. So but imagine you're trying to, you pledged $5 million, right?
Yep.
And Aaron Singerman called in, he gave a half a million, I gave 10,000.
Yep.
This person, this person, this person. That's great. Imagine if you were trying to raise $100 million. Okay, hypothetically. And all you got was 1 million people giving you their thoughts and prayers. And my point is this, it's just empty. It's just thoughts and prayers.
I think
how many people give you a thoughts and prayers and literally don't think or pray? They just write that down and move on with their life.
But guess who's responsible for that?
That's on everybody.
That's their character, though. Yeah. That's their character. That's their character. They're held responsible. It only hurts one person, is themselves. You know,
but my problem is if there's actually something that needs to get done, whether pick healthcare, pick gun violence, pick the Green New Deal, whatever it is, and then just thoughts and prayers. It doesn't get things done.
It's
is my
choice,
point.
Though. I like choices. If you don't want to do it, and I leave it on you.
That's fine. I'm just saying that I need something more. If you're looking to raise money, I'm just saying if I'm looking to raise money for a cause, and all you're hitting me with is 1 million people give me thoughts and prayers. Buddy, I need someone. I need actual money. I need actual help.
Yeah.
I need you to volunteer.
I know what you're saying.
Whatever.
I think what you're saying
is just an easy way out. It's a cop out.
The fake side of it.
It's fake.
Yeah, there are people. There are some that will do it through fake. Look,
just for social equity.
Yeah, I fully get that. Anyways, I agree, and I had my own perspective on that. But it is what it is. So let's talk about work ethic. Let's talk about work ethic. Have you ever heard Elon Musk, China, and Tom Brady in the same story? It's kind of weird, ain't it? There's a little bit of weirdness going on there, but let's try to see if we can pull this off. So Elon Musk shows the new robot and then says, we definitely need universal basic income. It's eventually going to happen. This is based on the new Tesla bot. During a recent presentation on AI hosted by Tesla, Musk said he is working on creating a Tesla bot, a robot that would do dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks so humans don't have to. But Musk recognized that the creation of this robot might take place of the jobs that are people currently getting paid for, which is why he said a guaranteed income will likely be necessary in the future. Essentially, in the future, physical work will be a choice. This is why I think long-term there will need to be universal basic income. Okay, so that's Musk. And he's talked about this before. This is not the first time he's talked about this. He talked about this when Andrew Yang started talking about the $1,000 to everybody, the UBI. And then Musk kind of supported it as well, right?
So just to be clear, Elon Musk is a UBI guy. Clearly,
Elon Musk is a UBI guy. And by the way, his argument is a valid argument because he thinks Technology is going to advance human beings. Okay.
Well, when you're the person that's creating all this technology, you better be a UBI guy because you're going to put millions of people out of work.
FYI, he also becomes the most dangerous man in the world if he does that. Just so you know, because essentially, if you create these robots to be that smart, eventually robots take control of you. If you create
Isn't
them
that
to be
everything he's doing with the Neuralink and just thinking?
You have some theories about that. You think he wants to?
I think he likes to bang aliens. I think.
I mean,
know
you've said that maybe once or twice before, maybe more.
Take a look at his girl.
All right, so then let's talk about Chinese authorities say overtime
Star Trek
996 policy is illegal. This is a Reuters story. Chinese authorities say overtime 996 policy is illegal. 996 is, you're working 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Chinese Supreme Court said overtime practice of 996, working 9 to 9, 6 p.m. days is illegal, taking aim at the controversial policy that is common amongst many Chinese technology firms. Working such hours has become a badge of honor for some Chinese companies and employees. Silicon Valley heavyweights such as Sequoia Capital's Mike Moritz have highlighted it as a competitive advantage the country has over United States. Chinese tech giants, including TikTok owner ByteDance, have in recent months been walking back with their grueling work hours, including the big week, small week policy that requires workers to alternate 5-day work weeks and 6-day work weeks. So that's China going away from the 6 days, right? And Sequoia Capital saying they have an edge over us. And then that leads to the Brady story, okay? So we got Musk, we got China, we got Brady's story. Tom Brady disavows today's work ethic. It's not how to live a joyful life. Fox News story. Brady has some advice on how to be successful. Stop blaming everyone else. Life is about always changing and adapting on different things. Today, the world wants to blame and shame and guilt and fear everything all the time. We would never teach our kids that, We would never say, this is how you're going to get through life the best. You're going to blame everyone when things don't go right. Brady called the sport the ultimate blame game. General managers, head coaches, players, quarterbacks, receivers, defense, offense. It's so easy to blame someone else. It's so hard to say, I didn't get the job done, and we collectively didn't get the job done. That's the best part about team sports. I picked a team where everybody's like, hey, we got to get better. It's not like I got all the answers. You guys just all screwed it up except me. Exact opposite way to play the game, You got to play together. So that's what he's saying.
Man.
He's saying if you want to make it at that level, it sucks. It's not the way to live, and don't blame people. So what are your thoughts about the future of hard work? What's going to happen?
Phil, you want to start this one off?
Oh, my gosh. Look, being a bodybuilder, you're your own first responder in everything you do. I got to get up in the morning. Even if I have Shuri wake me up, I still got to move. I still got to eat that food. I still got to get on that treadmill. This morning, I was like, gosh, I haven't trained legs in like a month, and I'm going to go do it. I didn't want to do it, but I tried to, I live by my own accord. I say, live life like leg day. And that means like it's going to hurt. You have fear and anxiety or whatever, but you know what? There's a reward. Mm-hmm. And that reward isn't for everybody else. That reward is for me. So I have a dream of like what I want to do. And I'm like, look, I'm going to do this. And here's the best part about being a bodybuilder, that if I eat right, I get results. If I train right, I get results. Practice does not make perfect, because I can practice a lot of freaking bad habits. So I got to be a student of myself, and I have to evolve throughout my life, because what I did in my 20s, I damn sure couldn't do in my 30s. And I'm 41 now, and I'm learning a lot. And I'm scratching my head, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I could apply what I know now to the 20-year-old Phil Heath, holy smokes. But that's life. And it has no rehearsal whatsoever. But you know what? I can't blame a coach. Even if I decided, I work with Hani Rambod, right? Brilliant coach. I lost the Olympia in 2018 and in 2020, right? I could literally point at him and say, you know what? We didn't do this right. You didn't tell me this. Who hired him? I did. So, like the level of accountability, people have to really start asking themselves, are they holding themselves accountable? Don't always look for someone else to do it, man. You're making your choices. And like Pat said, no one's forcing me to compete either. No one's forcing me to do this podcast. No one's forcing me to do shit. There are two things, the 2 C's I teach kids and stuff: choices and consequences. You got to know the damn difference. And if you don't, life is going to teach your ass. And it's going to be a very difficult lesson. You just have to pray to God that it's going to be a very inexpensive lesson. Because if not, it's going to be a truly expensive lesson, like we saw at the beginning of this show, is that those are expensive lessons. for you not understanding your choices in this life. That's where I'm at with this.
What do you think about it, Adam? So you got that great feedback. Obviously, you're talking about 7-time Mr. Olympia, and for bodybuilders, you're being judged for every single piece of muscle, every fiber, everything that you got going on, right? So for you, Musk says we're going to UBI no matter what. China, 996. Brady, it's not how to live a joyful life by blaming everybody. Take responsibility. Who's right?
Well, I think at the end of the day, why do humans work, right? Obviously, the easy answer is like, well, I got to get shit done. But I think work gives you meaning and purpose to your life. And like I look, it's funny because I'm sure the people with pets out there, you know, have the same thing. You walk out your door and I see my 2 cats. I'm like, enjoy your day, you two. Like doing nothing, right? You know, you got your dogs. All right, just be a dog. So dogs do dog things and cats do cats things and humans do human things. What do humans do? Humans need to work. Work gives you meaning and purpose and community and friendship and everything that comes associated with work and improvement. Like when you like the picture of you and when you were in Denver playing point guard or whatever, it's a different feel. Imagine if you just like obviously with baseball and everything you did with MMA and everything that imagine if you, Pat, never put in the work to be where you are today. You were just that 22-year-old still at Bally's being, whatever, I don't need to work that hard. I think there was what was the poll out here that survey shows that people no longer believe working hard would lead to a better life. I want to know who actually took that survey and took that poll.
Who's raising these freaking kids?
Yeah.
That's my biggest question.
Well, I can tell you there are people that I know in the entertainment industry specifically that feel that way because they do put in crazy amounts of hours and they do put in all their art and their intellectual property to being a comedian. They're sleeping on couches and they're sleeping. Capitalism is phenomenal for most things. Everybody here knows that I'm a free market guy. Capitalism does art pretty poorly. That's one of the things. Education and art we don't do well with capitalism. All right, so there are people and they are talented and they're working very, very hard and they're getting nothing out of it. Then they have to do a job. Now where UBI comes in is it's necessary to stop revolution. UBI is going to become necessary because if you have somebody you talked about before, somebody that's a janitor, somebody that maybe tried to make it as a singer or something like that, got a girl pregnant, got a guy pregnant, got pregnant by a guy, whatever it is, and then necessity had to take over. Now they had to take the first job that they could, and they are a janitor. They're driving Uber. When I was shut down in non-essential tattoo, I went from 2 national tours. I was on 2 national tours 2 years ago to driving Uber and working construction because only 2 jobs I can get during the pandemic. There was only 2 essential jobs I could do. I couldn't tell jokes. I couldn't go on tour. Everybody was going to get sick, but I could work construction and I could drive Uber. As mad as I was at the world for having to do that, if I didn't have that available, if robots had that job and I was just sitting there with my credit evaporating and my savings evaporating, I would have gone insane. So if you have people that are taking jobs that they don't want just to survive, and they're already kind of skeptical about the system as it is, right? Or they feel skeptical about the system. And maybe they are working hard, but they're working hard in low wages where they don't see any way to move forward. There's only so much money you can work as a waitress or a bartender, and it's not like they're not working hard. Now, if a robot does that, which in Australia, I'm sure you've traveled the world, Patrick's traveled the world, you guys have seen this in airports, where now they don't even have bartenders in some of these places. You get a cup, and the cup has a false bottom, and you put it on, you put your credit card in, and you put the cup on, and it fills the beer from the bottom. It's not even a bartender. You don't tip the machine. So,
well, gee, give me. So are you a believer in UBI or no?
Dude, honestly, I wasn't, and I'm coming around to it because I think it's a necessity. Not in this moment. Okay. Andrew Yang is early on this.
So 20 years down the road.
I think it's a necessity.
20 years down the road.
I think it's a necessity.
Give me, like we've seen what happened during COVID. 2/3 of people staying home are getting paid more to stay home than they were in their job. You're collecting UBI.
I'm a Milton Friedman.
What are people doing with their lives?
I'm a Milton
If you're just
Friedman
getting
guy.
paid to stay home. What are people doing?
I don't think that's what UBI really is. I think UBI is supposed to be that basic needs are met. And I don't know the math behind it.
So welfare.
And I'm not necessarily sold on it. But I think it's something that has to be taken seriously, and it's something that needs to be researched as much as possible. And I know that this goes, this is a seeming contradiction to my worldview, but again, I just think that we're going to run into a situation where if you have 10, 15, 20, 30% unemployment worldwide, you have a nightmare situation. Unless you are going to have a global economy where it's going to be cheaper to have labor and you can go be a construction worker in Africa, then, you can like when I look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going to space, I don't think about space. I think about international travel in 2 hours. I think about them going to the upper atmosphere and then coming back down in Johannesburg, and that could be your morning commute. Like, that's what I think. Like, if we're going to have a global economy, I don't know, man. I think the world in 50 years is going to be so different than the world we have today. It's going to be incomprehensible for us to understand how we didn't function in those ways.
PBD, what was the name of the guy that he said, I got $10 billion richer during the pandemic, and the question was, does the money flow up? Does it flow down?
Up, yeah.
What was that story? Because I feel like that's where the money's going to end up with the rich anyway.
Unfortunately, what we can say everything we want about UBI, people, if you don't change their habits internally, they're going to keep spending money. Money's going to go to the rich. It doesn't matter what you do. You give money to UBI, we need universal basic income. Just think the money's going to the top billionaires. Just think about it that way. Like, it's going to go through here to the billionaire. So this whole universal basic income is money to the rich. Great. Go do it. It's going to flow to the rich no matter what you do. Now, on the argument about robots taking over all this other stuff. Great. So do we know, do we not know? This whole thing about robots been talked about for a long time. Education is going to have to change. The approach to schooling is going to have to change. The approach to what jobs you go get is going to change. If you live in Bermuda, you know what's the number one job kids go get? What degree they get? What is a number one job kids go get in Bermuda? Can you guess what it is?
Yeah, with
tourism,
to do with
hospitality,
math, and actuary. Yeah,
because the 5 reinsurance companies are in Bermuda. So when is the last time you thought about getting a degree in actuary? You don't. Well, in Bermuda, you do because you want to go and come back and work for one of the 5 actuary companies. So you have to shift the way you go get a degree. If you work in a place where the biggest employer is Ford, and you have to kind of think about, hey, I don't want to leave this place. I want to be in Detroit. Great. You're going to go and come back. Let's just say you're going to get that job. If you're living in a place where you're in Silicon Valley, everybody wants to hire a predictive analytics or an engineer. Guess what you're probably going to go do, right? If you're living in Texas in a farm place, raising cattle, and that, you're probably going to go do that. So we'll pivot. We'll adjust. People will be pivoting and adjusting. But money's always going to flow to the people with the best habits. I don't care what anybody says. Money's always going to flow to the people with the best habits. This thing about China's 996, I hate to say this to you, but it's kind of impressive the fact that China's doing this. They're 100 years behind U.S. U.S., they did this with Ford because back in the days, the average human worker was working 69 hours a week. It was 69 hours a week that we worked. The average American worker used to work 69 hours a week. Today, the number's around 39 hours a week, right? Give or take, right? Versus 69 hours. Now, here's the thing with me.
Crazy.
I have worked 996 for nearly 20 years, but it's by choice. I have worked 996 by choice for 20 years. These guys work 996 by force. There's a big difference. I don't know a single billionaire that you meet who doesn't have a, 8-10-6 for 10 years or 20 years. That is a proven formula if you want to make it to the high level. You got to really light it up for a good run that you go on. You got to go on that one run of yours, right? Yep. So this is mandatory for everybody that wants to kill it in their space. You need the rest, you need all that stuff, but that's that. And then the last part about people no longer believing, working hard will lead to a better life. Really? Okay, let's unpack that. People no longer believe. Let's put a funnel. Put a funnel there, right? What's the funnel? The funnel is a kid is born. The first 5 years, the kid's influenced by who? Who's the kid influenced by? Parents. Yeah. And then from 5 years old, he goes to kindergarten. He's influenced by who? Friends. Okay. Then from first to 12 years old, they're influenced by who? Teachers. What percentage of teachers love capitalism? 10%? 20%? 30%? I don't know. High. Then go to college. You go to college for 4 years. You tell me what percentage of professors in college love capitalism today. Tell me how many of them.
Probably
I just
10%.
interviewed the communist professor in Riverside Community College, liked the guy, had a great conversation with him. He fully believes the two of the greatest leaders that helped society the most are Stalin and Mao. He wasn't
Insane.
joking. He was 100% firm about it. I asked him if a 22-year-old kid has a decision today to be the next Jeff Bezos, create 1.3 million jobs, or be the next Stalin, what is better for the world? He says it's not even close, Stalin. If he becomes the next Stalin revolutionary, it's better for the world. This guy fully believes it. And he's not 22. He's 45 years old, our age, talking something like that, right?
That guy's 45.
Mid-40s. The beard makes him look
like
old.
145.
But the point is this. When people say things like, surveys show people no longer believe working hard will lead to a better life. It's not. It should say professors encourage kids to no longer believe that working hard. You got to change the wording to that title.
Or you could say you could work smart, not hard, or maybe you could do both. But the fact that don't want to work
don't
hard.
give me this BS about working hard doesn't work.
You got to work harder and smarter. I mean, in order to be competitive, are you kidding me? Pat just illustrated it perfectly. When I got into bodybuilding, October 8th, 2002, I said, I want to be a bodybuilder. I recognized that I was at a disadvantage because I was going to go against people that have been lifting weights since they were 12 years old. Now, I wasn't one of those guys, but yet I did have the genetics, right? When I turned pro,
The gift.
when I turned pro 16 years ago, everything reset. I was a pro. I was 25 years old, and I'm going against the best in the world. And I'm thinking, I got to outwork them. I got to outsmart them, but it's going to take time. Okay. I didn't do the Olympia my first 2 years of being a pro in 06 and 07, even though I qualified. Why? Because I was like, I need more stage time. So I got on the road. I did numerous appearances to get my stage presence up. I knew nothing about that. I had no coach that taught me those things. I did everything in my power to make sure I can increase my capacity at a faster rate than everybody else so I can equal the playing field. Eventually, I'm going to catch their ass. And guys like Dexter, you can ask him. He said, eventually this kid is going to win. Because I knew that I had to do what? I couldn't train just one time a week. I had to train twice a day, twice a week. But then I was like, well, I'm going to burn out. Everybody's like overtraining this and that. Well, massage therapist, acupuncture, infrared sauna, hyperbaric, whatever it is. Instead of buying bullshit, I went out and spent money on those modalities to increase my capacity. So then eventually when I got there, I would arrive. And in 08, I did my first Olympia, got third. The rest is history. I was able to dominate during that time period because I had already made those other years profitable. So then when opportunity met, I was like, let's go. But
8 billion people in the world, only 4 have won Mr. Olympia 7 times. Okay, that's all you got to know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
4
but
people
you
have won
have to.
What do you say, by the way? Outwork,
out-improve, out-strategize, and the scariest one?
outlast.
Outlast. It's the most
stamina,
intimidating
bro.
thing.
The
It's the
stamina,
most
bro.
intimidating thing in the world of competition. The fact that I tell you, I used to tell my competitors, you can beat me one day, maybe a week, maybe a month.
Yeah.
You'll match my work ethic for a year. I will guarantee you're going to slow down. I'm not. I said, you're going to go. How many years are you going to go? I'm going to go 5 years straight. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to go 10 years. You're not going to last.
Or let me.
So that's the mindset that's intimidating. But
Yeah.
let's transition because we
yeah.
got 4 more stories I'd like to get to, and we only have 13 minutes. So let's see what we can do here on rapid fire with some of these stories. Okay. Australia created a police state to stop COVID. Data shows it's not working. I'm getting more videos. Are you guys? I'm sure you guys are seeing obviously what's going on over there. On Monday, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced the government would be extending this lockdown following an outbreak of the Delta variant. We don't yet believe that we have reached the peak of outbreak or necessarily the edge of it, Ardern said at a news conference. Meanwhile, in nearby Australia, residents are entering the 9th week of lockdown that had initially been scheduled for 2 weeks, and many of the hardest hits parts of the city, NBC reports, military personnel roam the streets and authorities issue fines up to $3,700 to individuals breaking lockdown orders. Economists at the RAND Corporation and the University of Southern California reached a similar conclusion regarding the ineffectiveness of shelter-in-place ordered months later. We failed to find that shelter-in-place policy saved lives, the author reports. We failed to find that countries or U.S. states that implemented SIP policies, stay-in-place policies, earlier, in which the SIP policies had no longer to operate, had slower excess death than other countries, U.S. states, that slower to implement SIP policies. Anyways, It's craziness. Kids are out there by the beach. They're getting fined, $1,000 fines for the parents.
Did you see the manhunt they had for those kids?
Yeah, the one guy that was on
2 helicopters, like
But one guy was in the elevator, and they said, "Watch this man cough twice, 3 times. If you see this man, report him to us. He is
nationwide
COVID."
manhunt.
This guy left the
Do you
house.
want me to get our Australian friend on the phone real quick?
Is
Do we
he
have time?
Yeah,
If we can get
pull him
real
up.
quick?
Do we have
Okay.
the phone to call him or no?
I think this is
Okay,
it right
call
here.
him up.
Let's see if we got.
Even if we get a couple minutes from this guy in Australia.
I told him we would be 5
There's
minutes
people.
max.
There's people that are in their backyards getting the cops called on them because they went into their backyard and they didn't have their mask
Who's
on
snitching?
in their own backyard.
Who's snitching?
It's insanity,
Bro,
man.
like, you snitching?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Like,
well, you know who it is.
Don't put on.
You know who it is.
Don't
I'm
put
going
it
to
on
all my
speaker.
neighbors.
No.
I'm like, like, you snitch on me, boy. Like, it's
So this is
on.
connected. Is this? How does this work?
There you go. Oh, wow, he's out of the country. Those
Yeah.
2 rings. He is in
He's
Australia.
in Australia.
He thought you were
He's
lying.
really in
His
there.
name is Idan.
I thought he was in Australia, Kansas.
He's an American who's been living in Australia for.
Kangaroo, by
Who's
the way,
asleep.
is
It's
delicious.
tomorrow
I think
already
it's
in
midnight.
Australia.
He's,
It really is.
Stand by.
Yeah.
If you've ever eaten kangaroo, it's delicious.
I got 2
Oh,
numbers for him, so, but
absolutely.
this one
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Lean meat, baby.
It's 1.
You may want to
it's
hang up, buddy.
almost 1 in the morning
You
in
are so
Australia.
patient. 7 times, you're still waiting. Hang up.
Different number. Let's see again.
Oh, my gosh. This guy let the phone ring 7 times.
Adam,
This guy's like at the casino. It's like,
in the morning.
one more round. No, one more time. One more time.
1, 4.
The guy's going through
Oh.
enough already.
He's
Okay.
out.
He's out.
Australia. Thoughts?
What time is it?
What's he telling you when you talk to him? Don't
12.
worry
Tell
about
him
it.
right now.
Poor guy's
12:50
getting
a.m.
arrested right now. I think he's getting arrested as we speak.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next story. Jake Paul passes test with split decision victory over Tyron Woodley. Did anybody see the fight here?
No.
I watched
Did
it.
you-
I watched it.
Do you watch it?
Yeah.
What'd you think
All
about
8
it?
rounds.
Were you impressed with him?
No.
With
No,
Jake?
I wasn't.
You were not impressed with him?
No, not at
Adam,
all. I
what'd
just-
you think?
I think. Look, Tyron Woodley is a beast.
He
right?
is.
So I think Jake Paul is. By the way, do you think that was fixed? Any
No,
of it?
Yes.
Any of it? Any
no,
of it? Any
stop
of it? Any of it?
No.
David
I
says
think-
yes.
100%.
I think
Stop.
he's fighting guys that are. I mean, Tyron Woodley's maybe 5'8". Jake Paul's not a small dude.
No, he's not.
We saw him.
Yeah.
When we were
At
leaving
the
the party
party,
that
yeah.
one
Yeah,
night. He's
that's right.
6'1", legit, strong guy. His brother's an absolute beast. Logan.
Monster.
Can we admit that the
But-
matchups that we're seeing
Yeah,
aren't
he's
like, I mean,
exactly.
height,
When he
weight,
fights a
like-
real boxer, I think he's gonna get his ass whooped.
if
But for
Jake-
now,
But Pat, you brought up a good point. Even though I didn't watch it, he's in shape.
The guy won
He's
8
able,
rounds.
He's able to move, man.
Yeah, and the
He
th-
ain't- that's no joke. Like if you've ever like put gloves on,
Hardest
period,
thing, hardest
it
thing.
is tough.
Here's the
thing.
thing. Here's my perspective on why it was fixed.
Tell us.
First, they didn't beat each other up, really.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was,
Woodley
all
did
right, we'll
not
go 8
throw.
rounds. I'll prove that I can box an entire 8 rounds, and then I'll move up. Because if Jake Paul loses, then
Well, let me ask
There
you a
was
question.
one part
Well,
that was sus where Woodley rocked him, had him up
Yeah.
literally on the ropes.
But here's a
and he
question,
didn't
though.
finish him off. And he's
David,
a pro fighter.
question for you. Have you seen Woodley's last 5 fights?
No, I've not. no.
Have you seen how Woodley fights?
I know he's a striker, but no.
Have you
No,
ever
he's not a
seen?
striker, he's a
Have
wrestler.
you seen Dana
No.
White's biggest frustration with Woodley?
He's not-
passive.
yeah, he's not
He's
aggressive.
passive, isn't
He's passive. So Dana White said this guy could be the face of UFC, okay? But he's passive. He doesn't fight. He plays like point game. That's how he wins fights. That's not how you sell out a crowd. So nobody wants to see the guy be like this. So he typically fights like that. That is his strategy. That's how he's fought. But to me, I've never said anything positive about Jake Paul's boxing, abilities. It's always the fact that these guys are great at getting attention. They're fantastic at what they're doing. I was impressed the fact that this guy could hang for 8 rounds. Are you kidding me? For a 190-pound guy, 6'1", to be able to last 8 rounds, it was impressive.
Jake Paul, LeBron James, Machine Gun Kelly, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, all of the most annoying people in our zeitgeist. They're all centered in one place. Cleveland, Ohio. The Mistake by the Malik
That's
did a
the-
great show there last year. There was multiple people on the meet and greet line that had teeth whittled down to spikes. and face tattoos.
How
This
we all
is,
doing? We're
yeah.
all white.
We've come a long way from Drew Carey, Cleveland, Ohio. Boy, this is Ohio's
Are
had
you
a.
saying like you're thinking about moving there? Is
Oh,
that
man.
kind of what you're saying?
Yeah,
I get a feeling he likes that city.
The actual the bay catches on fire.
think
By the
the
way, do you know
question
why it's
is-
called the mistake by the Malake, Cleveland? Because they spelt it wrong. There's an extra E that shouldn't be there. Cleveland, yeah. So anyway,
All right,
there's a
there
little
it is.
tasty tidbit.
So,
There's the value for
here's
you,
the
Tanners.
question. How much longer are people just going to tune into this Jake Paul nonsense?
Made so
as
much
long as
money.
he wins.
As long as he wants,
As long as
like-
he wins.
But nobody's watching to watch him win. People are watching to watch his ass
There
get
is
knocked
a
out.
community
Yeah?
that's supporting this
But
guy.
they're
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure they're supporting
LeBron
him. I would say
James.
80% of the people
Dude, like,
want to see him
Most
get
of
knocked
UFC wants to see him get knocked
course.
out. Yeah, And by the way, Woodley is the better fighter.
Yeah.
Woodley just didn't capitalize on the opportunity that he had. And secondly,
Yeah.
if the referee would have done his job right, that's a knockdown.
Yep.
Yeah.
He knocked him out there.
Yep.
So that's one knock. So that needed to be
Extra
recorded,
point.
but they didn't do it. That's extra point. It would have been 10-8 round. Still wouldn't made a difference. 2 rounds. One of the things that he did right is an old strategy from Pernell Whitaker, Sugar Ray.
Sweet
the
Pea
last
Pernell Whitaker.
The last 10 seconds, he knew how to score points.
Yeah.
Jake went and scored points the last 15, 20 seconds. That's what he did. He was behind. He comes da-da-da-da-da, and that's the last thing
Finished the
the
round.
referees, not the referees, the judges remember is the last. And but Woodley should have won the fight.
Yeah, what happened after, like, so I saw a clip.
Tattoo.
Yeah, what's
all
up with
this
that?
mess.
He's the king of the fuckboys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his whole appeal.
And
No, like,
Jake
that's-
announced
no, but-
yesterday he retired.
Oh, I know, right? USADA probably
But
came in.
there's
USADA
no- is
knocked
there
him.
any
He was
chance
like,
that-
"Oh, I'm retired."
out. Is there any chance that Woodley gets his rematch?
Oh, yeah.
No. I will not be
No, I
peeing
don't
in any
think so.
cup.
Is
I
there-
am retired.
Is there any
any
chance
way
that
there were-
Woodley
if he
gets a
if he
rematch?
got
there was
the
none of that.
tattoo, I mean,
Huh?
He
There
did get the
was no
tattoo.
test.
if he got it, then yeah, rematch.
No, I don't
There's
think.
no way
I
there
think
was a
he's
test.
not going to do it to piss him off. I don't think Jake's going to do the rematch because I don't think anybody cares to see those two fight.
No,
again.
I agree.
no.
I
I don't think he's going to
Move
do a
on.
rematch.
Who's-
I think they're going
who's
to move on
next?
to someone else.
Fury, little brother Fury,
Oh, Tommy?
Yeah.
Tommy Fury.
23
that's the
years
next,
old?
That's the
Shit.
flirting.
Yeah, I
fight.
hear everybody talking about that. But I mean, the last name Fury, you do not want to box with a guy with a
Hell
last name
no.
Fury.
Nah,
They,
not
they
that
have
guy.
they have issues.
The gypsy
They-
kid, the
they
gypsy
will-
prince.
Oh, Gypsy King.
Destroy you is what they
So
will
is that
do.
his brother, half brother? What is that guy?
Little brother.
Brother?
Yeah.
Fury.
Little bro. By the way, okay, Delta Airlines. You guys heard about what Delta did. If you're looking for a job, they're hiring. Delta Airlines announced that it's raising health insurance premiums for unvaccinated employees by $200 a month to cover higher COVID costs. So if you didn't take the vaccine, they're raising the $200. So Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastain notified employees Wednesday that they will face a $200 monthly increases on their health insurance premium starting November 1st if they are unvaccinated against COVID-19, citing steep costs to cover employees who are hospitalized with the virus. Unvaccinated employees will face other restrictions, including indoor masking effective immediately, weekly COVID-19 tests starting September 12th. The measures are the latest attempt by U.S. corporations to drive up COVID vaccination rates. Delta stopped short of an outright mandate like their rival United Airlines established earlier this month. The average hospital stay for COVID-19 has cost Delta $50,000 per person. Bastain said in an employee memo, this surcharge will be necessary to address the financial risk the decision to not vaccinate is creating for our company.
Shit.
This terrifies me as a fat guy. I got to tell you, the fact that they could turn around and say, "Oh, well, listen, man, you had a cheeseburger last week, and your BMI, I don't know, it's higher health risks here." I mean, this is insane. This is crazy. Can you imagine any other scenario where somebody was able to charge you more for being some shade of unhealthy? Can you imagine any scenario where you could restrict access to public goods and services because, well, you know, you're some shade of unhealthy? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, man.
Well, you are looking better these days. So
Thank
something
you.
tells me that your premiums are going to go down
Yeah.
and fly American.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the next.
Well, the
story.
problem I
It's
see is that
unbelievable.
I've seen these topics and stuff, and where are we talking about health and wellness?
Yeah.
We just don't. Mm-hmm. None of this shit is on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. They're
Preach,
not
Phil.
they're just not saying it.
Can you
They're
imagine?
they're not encouraging their employees to go to the gym. They're not hey, flight attendants, when you check in real late with these hotels, make sure like they do have a facility in there for you to do your cardio or something. Hey, we have some healthier eating options and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Hey, we have some immune booster pills or whatever it is. They're not talking about this.
But why
This
is it just
a freaking
COVID,
problem.
Phil? Imagine standing online for a club in Miami. Adam wants to get in, but they got a blockchain of everybody you've been with, and it's like, sorry, Adam, you were exposed to
They
HPV
probably should.
last week.
Well, they probably should
Can't
do
get
that.
in,
We're talking
sorry.
about- in South Beach, they probably should have a club like that.
Sorry, you've been
Yeah, but
exposed to
what happens
STDs.
when
We
you
can't
show up
let
to a nice club with your Dennis Rodman jersey on, bro? They're like,
I
sorry,
have
buddy.
two
Not letting you
friends
in.
from Boston joined me back at the apartment is what happens.
Ew.
Not one, but two. So anyway, but what I'm saying is that come on, what
That was
do
the
we
and when he
what do
really
we
wanted.
stop? What are we stopping, man? What are we stopping for, Kobe? What are we stopping here? What are you talking about, man? Like
They're only talking about that. They're not talking about heart disease. They're not
we've
talking
talked
about everything
this.
else.
Well, your father had heart issues, right? Can you imagine that they're like, well, sorry, Patrick, we'd love to sell you this Ducati, but you have a history of heart disease in your family, and that thing can conk out at any second. Can't have you on the road going 110, buddy. So I'm gonna have to give you this Vespa over here.
135.
I got to give you this Vespa, Pat. Is that okay? That's what you
165?
medically qualify
Vespa,
for.
bro?
165 what?
It's insanity.
No, that's how fast you went? Was that how? What
167. Oh, us?
Yeah.
No, we went 165.
Insane.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we went 165 in a Bentley
It's crazy.
in the 405 freeway.
Insane.
Which,
right.
by the way, I trust.
even feel like it.
But this is why all this stuff is
His
bullshit.
car insurance premiums should be higher
I
than the
trust
normal
him
person.
driving
That's my point.
160
They may be listening right now.
more
That's
than I trust some 85-year-old with Florida plates driving 35. Like this stuff doesn't work, bro. When I drive here on 1 in the morning,
man.
it could be 15 minutes, it could be
By the
35
way,
minutes, depending on who's in the left lane.
week, we're at Greenwich. We're walking in, and the guy comes up, and everyone's wearing a mask. And I said, listen, we are from Florida. We have no idea what's going on. What's the situation here with masks? He says, no, you can wear it, but look, you guys are vaccinated. You're fine. He has no clue we're vaccinated. He says, look, you guys are here. I know you guys are vaccinated. You're fine. We're like, oh, okay, cool. Sounds good. So we were like, I didn't get
So you
what
listened
just
to the
happened. Remember
podcast.
that?
That's good. Good
Very
to know.
weird what happens. Like, yeah, just go ahead and go in. And we went to the other restaurant. The girl's like, you don't have a mask on. Please put your masks on. I said, you're the first person that made us wear masks. Yeah, I don't like this stuff either. You should see what they're doing in New York. I said, yeah, I know. That's why we live in Florida, just so you know. Yeah. Like, oh, okay. And then we went and had our breakfast with Isaiah Thomas and Tom Thibodeau sitting right next to us.
Nice.
Which
Anyways.
Isaiah, though?
The
Come on, Isaiah.
Michael Jordan's best friend, Isaiah
Yeah.
Thomas.
The OG?
The OG.
My hero?
Oh, I forgot. That's
What?
Isaiah Thomas. That's his
Are
hero.
you kidding me?
Yeah. How far was he sitting? And this is Sam.
Zeke?
I tell Sam, I'm like, this guy is sitting next to us. His name is Isaiah Thomas. Sam goes like this. I'm like, what are you doing, bro?
Don't be
He's
weird.
like looking at him for like 2 minutes. I'm like, what is the matter
He's
with
like,
you,
don't be
Sam?
weird, don't be weird, don't be weird,
Did
don't
he
be
say
weird.
what's up to Isaiah?
Little did Pat know
Man, that's
Isaiah Thomas is
I went
actually
to
the most
Isaiah
popular
Thomas
porn
and
star in
I said to
Colombia.
him, I said,
so-
by the way, I loved you in Last Dance.
I would have geeked out if I saw this.
I loved you in The Last Dance.
Anyway, before we go,
Yo.
we got a big week this week.
Yes, we do.
You want to set us up for that?
Vault. We got the vault here. Cannot wait to see everybody. We're going to have a packed house here. It starts tomorrow night with the CEO session. Obviously, we're going to have Billy Bean there. We're going to have Dustin Poirier, he's a number one guy right now. We'll
That's
have
what I hear. Can I see this?
Gary Kasparov. We'll have... who else am I missing out? Am I missing somebody else?
Billy Bean.
Billy
Gary
Bean,
Kasparov.
Phil Heath. We'll have there, and on top of that, outside of Phil Heath, first thing I saw was Phil Heath.
Yeah, how about this guy right here?
And-
Is this guy going to be there at all?
By
I
the
don't
way,
know. Maybe take a
last
picture of that guy.
minute confirmation. Greg Scheer from Oak Tree Capital Management, managing director, will be there. I'll be interviewing him.
Wow.
He's Oak Tree Capital Management has $155 billion of assets under management.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how to raise money. Cannot wait to see everybody here in Miami. You're going to see the entire camp here at the Diplomat, and then we're doing an after party at the house with a select few people.
Let's go.
By the way, we were thinking about having this the ball with the girl that was going to be dancing in it. Very provocative. And I'm like, listen, are we doing that in front of 100 people? It's kind of a little awkward. Dylan comes at Dad, what's that girl doing? I said, Dylan, go to sleep, buddy. Go to sleep. No, I like the way she dances.
Let's go. Hey, before we go, I hope the
gonna be
BizDoc is
any
listening. We're
masseuses
thinking
there?
of you,
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah,
Amen,
BizDoc, man.
We're thinking of the
We're thinking about you,
BizDoc.
brother.
BizDoc, of course. By the way, folks, if you're listening, since we talked about it, please pray for BizDoc. Please
and prayers,
pray
thoughts
and
for
prayers.
thoughts and prayers. Not
Thoughts
the
and
kind
prayers.
Not the
Adam
kind
talked
that-
about,
yeah,
no.
but the legit type
The
of
legit
prayer
shit. Don't-
for BizDoc. And Kai did say there may be some masseuse at the after party. So having said that,
Let's
have a
hope.
wonderful week. We will do this again next week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Thanks, Kai.